seen a sell-off on Wall Street, but tankers away. Back to you, Robin Tara.
Nothing like potty humor in a down market to close out the 3 hours here. Thanks, Susan.
And something with the U.S. Navy. I don't know how that all fits together. Thanks, Susan. We're going to take you to the Situation Room in Wolf Blitzer.
Thanks very much, guys. Happening now, Barack Obama sharpening his criticism of Hillary Clinton and what he calls her flawed judgment. This hour, the Democratic presidential candidate talks to me about Senator Clinton, the war, and the next phase of his campaign. Also, why white men won't jump. Do they keep voting Republican because they've been neglected by Democrats? And tough choices for Christian conservatives. Do they go with Rudy Giuliani, Mitt Romney, or none of the above? New attacks and counterattacks today in the fight for voters of faith. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Democrat Barack Obama admits he needs to do a better job explaining how he'd be a different president than Hillary Clinton. So he's reminding voters of what happened exactly 5 years ago today. That's when Clinton and 76 other U.S. senators voted to authorize the use of force in Iraq. Listen to this exchange from my one-on-one interview with Obama today.
I think her judgment was flawed on this issue. And I know that, she was not the only one who voted for this authorization. John Edwards, for example, has acknowledged that it was a mistake. I do think that Senator Clinton has tried to massage the past a little bit, suggesting that it was a vote for inspectors. I think everybody at the time, including you and the media and the American people, understood this was a vote for war. You can't give this president a blank check and then be surprised when he cashes it.
Senator Obama suggests Senator Clinton is making a mistake again by supporting a resolution that could give President Bush what Obama calls a new blank check for military action against Iran. We're going to have the interview with Senator Obama. That's coming up later this hour. Obama may be eager to talk about the Senate vote authorizing war. After all, he wasn't in the U.S. Senate then, and he says he opposed the invasion of Iraq from the start. He did. Days before this vote 5 years ago, he announced his opposition to the war. But what about the other Democrats? Let's bring in our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider. He's watching this story for us. How are they remembering this 5-year anniversary, Bill?
Wolf, it's an anniversary many Democrats would like to forget, and not just Democratic candidates. October 11th, 2002, the Senate voted on going to war in Iraq. 1 year after 9/11, Democratic senators faced an agonizing decision. Back in January 1991, most Democratic senators strongly opposed the first Gulf War. In 2002, a narrow majority of Senate Democrats voted in favor of the bill that authorized President Bush to use force, including all 4 Democratic senators at the time who are now running for president. John Edwards said then, "I believe that the risks of inaction are far greater than the risks of action." John Edwards says now,
I had the information I needed. I just voted the wrong way.
Hillary Clinton said then,
I will take the president at his word that he will try hard to pass a UN resolution and will seek to avoid war if at all possible.
Hillary Clinton says now,
obviously, I would not vote that way again if we knew then what we now know.
Barack Obama was not in the U.S. Senate in 2002. But days before the Senate vote, he said in a speech in Chicago,
I know that even a successful war against Iraq will require a U.S. occupation of undetermined length, at undetermined cost, with undetermined consequences.
Obama argues his early opposition demonstrates his good judgment.
I think that it does bear on the judgment of myself and Senator Clinton, and it speaks to how we will make decisions moving forward.
Fair enough. But you also have to take into account the judgment of Democratic voters. In October 2002, Democrats were divided. 49% favored invading Iraq. Now, only 10% of Democrats favor the war. Will Democratic voters forgive candidates who changed their position on the war? Well, many Democratic voters did precisely the same thing. Wolf?
Bill Schneider watching this. Thanks very much for that report. Remember, Barack Obama here in the Situation Room, my interview with him. That's coming up. But let's go to a news source of global tension right now. Turkey recalling its ambassador to the United States. The announcement coming after a House panel approved a bill describing mass killings of Armenians during World War I as genocide. Our congressional correspondent Dana Bash is on the Hill. She's watching this story for us. Dana, the Bush administration is warning of some major consequences, ramifications if the full House moves forward with this legislation.
They sure are, Wolf. You know, the small but very vocal Armenian American community, they have been lobbying Congress for decades to call the mass killings actually genocide. In the past, congressional leaders simply have not voted for it because of that kind of pressure from the Turks and from presidents, Democrats and Republicans, and the intense lobbying from high-powered lobbyists that the Turks hired in order to do that. But that pressure is not swaying the Democratic leaders now running Congress.
Mass killings of Armenians by the Turks took place nearly a century ago. So why is the House moving to label it genocide now?
Because now there's never a good time. And all of us in the Democratic leadership have supported, are reiterating Americans' acknowledgement of a genocide.
Defiant Democratic leaders say they view this as part of their mandate, restoring America's moral authority around the world.
When the Turkish government says there was no genocide of Armenians, we have to set them straight.
For Foreign Affairs Chairman Tom Lantos, fighting for human rights is personal.
You escaped 2 labor camps in Hungary.
Yes.
And you were how old?
Well, by that time I was 16.
He is the only Holocaust survivor in Congress.
I feel that I have a tremendous opportunity as a survivor of the Holocaust to bring a moral dimension to our foreign policy.
Lantos pushed the symbolic resolution calling Armenian killings genocide despite intense pressure against it from the Bush administration. He dismisses Turkish warnings this could jeopardize U.S. relations with Turkey, a critical Mideast ally that insists the Armenian deaths were not genocide.
What if it says, you're not going to be able to use our airspace anymore, or you're not going to be able to use our country to get critical supplies to the men and women who are fighting in Iraq?
Well, with all due respect to the Turkish government, the Turkish-American relationship is infinitely more valuable to Turkey than it is to the United States. The Turkish government will not act against the United States because that would be against their own interests. I'm convinced of this.
But the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee disagrees, and that Democratic chairman, Ike Skelton-Wolf, wrote this letter to the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, which CNN has obtained. And in it, he warns that the Armenian resolution could actually hinder the Democrats' chief goal in this Congress, and that is bringing troops home from Iraq. He says that is because Turkey, of course, is a key transfer point, for getting troops home from Iraq.
Dana Bash on the Hill for us. Thanks, Dana, very much. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's in New York with the Cafferty file. I don't remember, Jack, and we're doing some research, when, if ever, a NATO ally has withdrawn its ambassador to the United States from Washington to express some protest, but we're checking that out.
Well, we have the Speaker of the House of Representatives who has so far refused to stand up in any sort of meaningful way to the Bush administration against the war in Iraq, which was one of the reasons the Democrats got elected in the midterm election. But she's gone out of her way now to pass a resolution that has angered one of our key allies in the current military conflict in that part of the world over an event that happened, almost 100 years ago. I don't understand Washington, D.C. Would you give me some private lessons sometime?
We'll have dinner one night.
Yeah. An update now on a story we brought you last week in the Cafferty file. A federal judge, here's another one that makes a lot of sense. A federal judge in San Francisco has now ordered an indefinite delay on a Bush administration measure to crack down on employers who hire illegal aliens. That's against the law. The government's new rule would have forced employers to fire workers if their Social Security numbers couldn't be verified within 3 months. But this judge, Charles Breyer, warned that the crackdown could have potentially staggering impact on law-abiding workers and companies that could lead to the firing of thousands of legal employees. He didn't explain, or at least I didn't read exactly how he got to that conclusion, that legal employees would get fired under this thing. But the halt to the rule until the court now reaches a final decision could take months. which means that the government cannot go forward with its enforcement. And the federal judge's decision has justifiably caused outrage on the part of some lawmakers. Republican Congressman Brian Bilbray, the chair of the House Immigration Reform Caucus, said, quote, "What part of illegal does Judge Breyer not understand? Using a Social Security number that doesn't belong to you is a felony. Judge Breyer is compromising the rule of law principles that he took an oath to uphold," unquote. The lawsuit was brought by a rather unlikely coalition of folks, AFL-CIO, the American Civil Liberties Union, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The question is this: is it the place of a federal judge to stop the government from enforcing the laws against hiring illegal aliens? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile at CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. It's like the Twilight Zone out there, Wolf.
Jack, stand by. We'll get back to you very soon. Barack Obama isn't the front runner, but he says he's confident. Supporters want it to come out swinging. He says he has a plan. You're going to find out what it is during my one-on-one interview. That's coming up. Also, President Bush is touting what he calls some good news about the economy, but the picture isn't necessarily rosy for the whole country. You'll see the numbers for yourself.
Last February.
And conservative commentator Ann Coulter stirring up a new hornet's nest after some extremely controversial comments about Jews and America. Stay with us. You're in The Situation Room.
Now make a 3-inch incision between the 4th and 5th abdominal muscles.
Shouldn't you be doing this?
Making important financial decisions on your own doesn't make much sense either. That's why Edward Jones prefers meeting clients face to face.
As you can see, your portfolio's performed really well this year.
Energy stocks are up and technology is strong. You took a little hit in real estate, but more than made up for it in genocide. You're really making a killing in Darfur.
Is your mutual fund funding genocide? Find out at SaveDarfur.org.
Plug in, the first ultra-adaptable room from Marriott.
What is being done to make us less reliant on oil?
Everyone worries about our dependence on oil.
There has to be something next.
We have renewable possibilities.
There's renewable energy resources in wind power and solar power. Oil companies need to think about how they provide energy as opposed to how they just use oil, because oil's not going to last forever.
I remember making snowboards by hand in my own garage. We couldn't afford the proper equipment, so there I was, applying polyurethane with a scuba mask on. Eventually we started making some pretty good boards, but it still didn't catch on. People just didn't get it. Maybe it wasn't what we were saying, but how we were saying it. Then we found a way.
HP helps great companies like Burton build their brands. Get the tools to build yours online at hp.com/Burton.
You've reached the Stewarts. We're not home and we have prescriptions at 3 different pharmacies, and we use a mail order pharmacy. Please leave a message.
If only people used just one pharmacy, so that you could tell a pharmacist about all your medicines to check that they work safely together. Fortunately, Walgreens' free online system allows you to manage all your medicines, supplements, and health conditions 24 hours a day.
President Bush could have it his way. Right now, there is some positive news on the U.S. economy. The problem is that millions of Americans simply don't feel that way, and the White House is willing to admit that. Let's go right to our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux. She's watching this story. Mixed bag of economic numbers. So what's going on?
Well, Wolf, unemployment is down. The trade deficit is down. This is really good news, but the Bush administration is having a tough time getting traction on this. That's because a lot of Americans really don't feel the good news right now, and that's particularly among the middle class.
If you listen to President Bush on the economy, it's all good.
As a result of the hard work of the American people, this economy is growing.
There was good news today. The trade deficit dropped nearly 2.5% between July and August. The U.S. selling more goods than it's buying, exporting more American wheat, chemicals, and steel. importing fewer cars and furniture. Even the U.S. trade deficit with China closed a little, by 5%.
We've had 49 consecutive months of uninterrupted job growth, which is a record.
But that record growth isn't good for everyone. Economists say while it benefits the highest paid workers in white-collar jobs and the lowest wage earners in the service industry, it's been devastating to the middle class.
These are assembly line workers that have worked in the domestic automotive industry or perhaps in a supplier to that industry. They're construction workers, so they would be definitely middle income, middle to upper income type families that have been affected.
The housing bust, the shrinking American dollar, and sluggish retail sales are making some American workers downright anxious about their economic future. The latest AP Ipsos poll shows a 6% increase since July, up to 15% of those who identify the economy, not the Iraq War, as the country's biggest challenge. Those numbers jump to more than 20% among minorities and those without a college degree. The administration concedes that not everyone is benefiting from this economy.
The president has encouraged new types of job training programs, trade adjustment, so that people who lose jobs that have gone overseas can actually get new training for jobs that they can get here. The president's policy.
But Wolf, as you know, that training does take some time. In the meantime, there are families that are struggling to put their kids through college to save their homes, and Democrats point out that it's some 3 million manufacturing jobs that have been lost since President Bush first took office. Wolf?
Suzanne Malveaux, thanks very much. If there's any place in the country where voters are likely to focus on the negative economic news, it would be Michigan. It's a key battleground state where many people are hurting far more than in other parts of the country. Let's go right to our chief national correspondent, John King. You're just back from Michigan. John, how bad is it out there?
It's pretty bad, Wolf. Republicans were out there having their big debate. In much of the country, as you travel, Iraq is the big issue. But as you know, to travel to Michigan, there's a lot of hurt, and there's one big issue, and it is jobs.
The blight makes this battleground unique.
Listen, it's all about jobs here in Michigan. We're the only state in the country that has lost jobs 6 years in a row.
What do we need? Fair country! The brief strike against Chrysler was yet another reminder of the American auto industry's struggles and of the economic anxiety of workers like Albert Matras, who see a way of life disappearing.
We're working for the middle class. Where is it anymore? You got people that are rich, you got people that are poor. We're in the middle.
It was here in the Detroit suburbs the term Reagan Democrats was coined, and here, perhaps more than any other state, where the economy will shape the presidential race. Michigan's unemployment rate is 7.4%, compared to just 4.7% nationally. In the past 6 years, while the national economy has added 5.7 million jobs, Michigan has lost more than 332,000, 100,000 of those in the past year alone.
It impacts the political environment. Luckily for Democrats in here in Michigan, they continue to blame the president.
Yet Republicans see possibility. Democratic Governor Jennifer Granholm just pushed through a sales tax increase. And the Democratic presidential candidates won't campaign here for now because Michigan broke national party rules by moving its primary up to mid-January.
So if the Republican candidates have a chance to campaign in Michigan, to make their point in Michigan, I think this will be a very competitive state.
Most Michigan Republicans see native son Mitt Romney as their best hope. The former Massachusetts governor is the son of former Michigan Governor George Romney, who made his name at the heyday of the U.S. auto industry. Republicans, though, haven't carried Michigan for president in 20 years. And pollster Ed Sarpolis says the odds favor the Democrats this cycle, too. But he says overconfidence would be a big mistake, especially given the turbulent economy.
We have a history in Michigan voting for Republican presidents, especially voting for Republican presidents when we have a Democratic governor.
That history obviously a concern to the Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton. She alone among the leading Democrats has not taken her name off the Michigan primary ballot. She says she won't campaign there because of the national rules, but Wolf, she says taking her name off the ballot would be like saying, quote, goodbye Michigan, and turning away Democrats in the states. She says it is a state the Democrats must win if they want to take back the White House next year.
Key battleground state. Thanks very much for that, John King. Barack Obama says he knows what he has to do before time runs out in his race against Hillary Clinton.
I think that now is the time where we're going to be laying out a very clear contrast between myself and Senator Clinton.
Just ahead, my one-on-one interview with Senator Obama. He describes the next crucial phase of his campaign. And have white men abandoned the Democratic Party, or is it the other way around? Stay with us. You're in The Situation Room.
finest luxury crossover ever. Critics are raving about Michael Clayton.
But Arthur was onto something.
A gripping thriller.
I'm an accomplice!
Smart and suspenseful. Heart-pumping.
I look like I'm negotiating.
Michael Clayton, rated R, now playing in select cities, October 12th everywhere.
Honey, are you going to keep that thing above your head the whole vacation?
Yeah, I'm proud of it. I booked our package on Orbitz. I got this great hotel. Saved a ton.
Well, you're embarrassing me. When I get back from aerobics, I'd like it gone.
Get a great hotel and save when you customize your vacation package on Orbitz. Book now and stay a step ahead.
Because financial solutions have no borders or boundaries, UBS operates in only 2 locations. Everywhere. And right next to you. You and us. UBS.
Larry King Tonight. The truthiness about Stephen Colbert. He takes your calls and goes mano a mano with Larry King. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
In the Northwest, we vote every day, not for politicians and ballot measures, but every day we vote by choosing who we do business with. And for the past several years, more people in Oregon and Washington have chosen to buy their Fords from Landmark Ford than from any other Ford store. Some will say because of price, some because of selection. But if you ask Landmark customers why they continue to come back year after year, they'll usually tell you it's because of the way they're treated. Landmark Ford. We're just off I-5 at the Haines Street exit.
We don't make haste, so we don't need Comcast high-speed internet.
Haste is waste.
Ooh, it is.
We enjoy the slow pace of DSL.
Oh, we do.
Speed? Schmeed.
Exactly.
We put the I in leisurely.
Wow, that is catchy. Put that on a pillow.
We put the gag in lollygag.
You really don't know about that one. Feels like a stretch.
Go way faster than DSL with Comcast high-speed internet. It's Comcastic.
A new book says white men are abandoning the Democratic Party. It claims Democrats are neglecting them, and that could cost their party the election. Let's go to Carol Costello. She's here in the Situation Room. The book sort of lays out exactly why these men are leaving the Democratic Party. What's going on?
Well, the Democratic Party is pretty much ignoring white men. You know, the book is called The Neglected Voter. You know, the one we used to call the NASCAR dad. Well, I don't know what either political party is calling the white male voter this time around, but the Democrats appear to be losing them.
They might be born in the USA and love the boss, but they are no longer voting the Democratic way. They are blue-collar white male voters who, according to a new book, are the only chance Democrats have to win in 2008. But getting them to vote for Clinton, Edwards, or Obama won't be easy.
But the Democratic Party came to stand up for everybody but them, for every group but them, and in fact, stand against them.
Coon, who wrote The Neglected Voter, says Democrats are guilty of portraying white men as the only privileged group in the United States who deserve no help.
They ironically came to feel the scapegoat of liberalism, that they came to feel stereotyped as the bigoted Archie Bunker from All in the Families.
And that stereotype does play out in the Democratic world of politics. The Democrat that Republicans love to hate, Michael Moore, wrote a book called Stupid White Men, touted as outing that big, ugly special interest group that's laying waste to the world as we know it, stupid white men. Conservatives fought back, painting the Democratic Party as so into diversity, it can't see the color white.
I think Democrats have hit on the perfect candidate with Barack Obama, or as I call him, B. Hussein Obama. B. Hussein Obama is half white, half black. So there's somebody for every Democrat to vote for.
And it's all played into this. According to exit polls, at every presidential election from 1980 on, no Democratic candidate could even get 40% of the white male vote. And Coon says, as a result, America's seen just one Democratic president in 27 years. While some analysts say Coon is onto something, others say not so fast. Maybe Democrats aren't going after white male voters because times have changed.
There's a lot of Democratic analysts who would argue as a counter argument that the growing group in this country are not whites, not white men, but instead minorities, Hispanics, blacks, and Asians.
If that's true, what's a Springsteen-loving white man to do? Recent history says, vote Republican.
But there is a small sign Democrats may be making inroads with white male voters. They picked up 6% more white men in 2006. But, Wolf, as you know, one election does not a trend make.
Interesting stuff. Thanks very much, Carol Costello. Barack Obama says he has the right stuff, but wonders if Hillary Clinton does.
I think I have a track record of anticipating some of the problems that are out there that the next president's going to have to deal with.
And that's mild compared to what's likely to come next from the presidential candidate. He's set to step up his attacks on Hillary Clinton. Obama will explain my one-on-one interview that's coming up next. And tough choices for some Republicans looking for a presidential candidate they actually like. We're going to tell you why some Christian conservatives are not necessarily moved. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Oh, that looks hearty. It must be nothing. The carrots and the noodles.
Zero.
Can I taste zero?
Introducing Progresso Light, the only light soup with 0 points value and 60 calories per serving.
Zero is something.
Dudley Irwin Newberg, Gonzalez Brown, Anderson, Taylor, and Stein. Please hold.
Dudley Irwin Newberg, Gonzalez Brown, Anderson, Taylor, and Stein. Every time we print our name, we're using a ton of ink. So, to save money, we're abbreviating it. Nice, huh?
Or we could use the easy button.
What?
Save 20 to 40% on ink. Rewards restock recycle at Staples. That was easy.
Ding Bass, how may I direct your call?
George Bush just vetoed Abby and Josh. He vetoed LaToya and Kevin. Bush vetoed health insurance for millions of America's children whose parents work but can't afford coverage. George Bush and his backers would rather send $500 billion to Iraq than spend a fraction of that here to keep our kids healthy. Congress can override Bush's veto, so ask your representative, do they stand with him or with them?
Plug in, the first ultra-adaptable room from Marriott.
Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart.
Smart Balance Buttery Spread helps improve your cholesterol ratio, and its great buttery taste won the Chef's Best Award. Naturally trans fat-free, an excellent source of ALA omega-3s, it's part of the Smart Balance food plan. It's all about balance.
Put a little love in your heart.
I'm a network specialist.
I'm a cell site technician.
I'm a data engineer. I'm a systems engineer. Our team constantly strengthens the Verizon wireless network, monitoring network usage,
Connection quality.
network reliability.
The minute there's a surge in the volume of data,
We're there to boost the network's capacity. Do you want to know why Verizon Wireless is such an advanced network? You're looking at it. You're looking at it. You're looking at it.
you're looking at it.
So long, Mr. Nice Guy. That's what some people may soon be saying about Senator Barack Obama. Hungry for the Democratic presidential nomination, Obama is set to step up his attacks against his rivals. And a prime target, of course, Hillary Clinton. News of this comes amid an anniversary of a key event regarding the war in Iraq, an event that helped change this nation's history. It's an anniversary Obama believes shows what he calls Hillary Clinton's flawed judgment. And joining us now, the Democratic presidential candidate, Senator Barack Obama. He's joining us from his hometown in Chicago. Senator, thanks for coming in.
Great to be with you.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened 5 years ago exactly today, October 11th, 2002. The Senate voted 77 to 23 to authorize war in Iraq against Saddam Hussein. You, a few days earlier, had opposed going to war against Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Hillary Clinton was among the 77 who voted in favor of that authorizing resolution. Looking back, does that disqualify her to be president of the United States?
Well, I don't think it disqualifies her, but I think it speaks to her judgment and it speaks to my judgment. You know, this was the most important foreign policy decision since the end of the Cold War. And when I stood up and opposed this war, I think I laid out a very specific case for why we shouldn't go in, that Saddam Hussein didn't pose an imminent threat, that we would be bogged down without an exit strategy, that it would cost us billions of dollars and thousands of lives and would distract us from the battle that had to be waged against al-Qaeda. So I think that it does bear on the judgment of myself and Senator Clinton, and it speaks to how we will make decisions moving forward, because the next president is going to have a number of difficult foreign policy decisions as well.
So what I hear you saying is it speaks to her judgment, and you're saying her judgment was simply bad.
I think her judgment was flawed on this issue. And I know that, you know, she was not the only one who voted for this authorization. John Edwards, for example, has acknowledged that it was a mistake. I do think that Senator Clinton has tried to massage the past a little bit, suggesting that it was a vote for inspectors. I think everybody at the time, including you and the media and the American people, understood this was a vote for war. You know, you can't give this president a blank check and then be surprised when he cashes it.
Explain to me this. I'm going to put some numbers up on the screen. Among registered Democrats nationwide, she still is the front runner, 47% in this latest Gallup poll, 26% for you, Senator Obama, 11% for John Edwards. And specifically in a Washington Post ABC News poll, who do Democratic voters trust to handle Iraq despite that vote, despite your opposition to the war going into the war? Among registered Democrats in this Washington Post poll, Clinton gets 52%, Obama gets 22%, Edwards 17%. Why are Democrats still, despite her vote, and a lot of them obviously oppose the war, siding with her when they're asked these sensitive questions?
Well, you know, I think those polls just reflect the fact that Senator Clinton remains the default candidate nationally. She's still better known than I am, and I think those national polls are going to change too much until the early state votes take place. Look, if I was worried about polls, then I would be here celebrating the 5th anniversary of me supporting the war, because at the time there was overriding support for that war. The critical issue, I think, as Democrats make a decision about who can lead them in this next difficult phase of foreign policy and repairing the damage that George Bush has done, is who has the judgment to know when to use military force, when not to use military force, who has the discernment to know how to use diplomacy effectively in order to achieve some of our national security goals. And that's something that I am confident I can do, and I think I have a track record of anticipating some of the problems that are out there that the next president's going to have to deal with.
Some of your supporters have been saying increasingly publicly that they want you to become more aggressive, more forceful in going after your Democratic presidential opposition. Jesse Jackson saying this in the New York Observer the other day. It's like boxing. You keep waiting for the big knockout punch, but while you've waited for the big knockout punch, you've lost so many points. And that one big one might not be coming. My support has not wavered for him, but my approach for getting the nation's attention would be different. What do you say to the Reverend Jesse Jackson and others who really want you to come out and start swinging away?
Well, look, we are 3 months away from the Iowa caucus, the first caucus. This has been a presidential season that's been greatly accelerated. The American people, though, they've been going about their business, getting their kids to school, working on the job, doing what they do every day. They are now focusing in on making these difficult decisions. And I think that now is the time where we're going to be laying out a very clear contrast between myself and Senator Clinton, not just on the past, not just on Iraq, but moving forward. How would we approach Iran, for example?
Well, let's talk
Senator
about that specifically right now. The other day, the Senate voted 76-22 in favor of what's called the Lieberman-Kyle amendment that said it is the sense of the Senate that the United States should designate Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps as a foreign terrorist organization. Senator Clinton voted in favor of that resolution. You were absent. You didn't show up for that vote, but you say you would have voted against it. First of all, why didn't you come to the Senate and make your vote?
Well, I was in New Hampshire at the time. This is one of the problems with running for president. You can't always anticipate which votes are which. But I put out a statement at the time stating that this was a bad idea and that I would have voted against it. And here's why. We know in the past that the president has used some of the flimsiest excuses to try to move his agenda, regardless of what Congress says. We know that there was embodied in this legislation or this resolution, sense of the Senate, language that would say our Iraqi troop structures should in part be determined by our desire to deal with Iran. Now, if you know that in the past the president has taken a blank check and cashed it, we don't want to repeat that mistake.
Well, wouldn't that vote, Senator, this is what your critics are hammering away at you, wouldn't that vote be more important than campaigning in New Hampshire, given the significance of what you're describing right now?
Well, we don't always know what votes are scheduled and when. And if you're in New Hampshire, then it's hard to get back. But this wasn't a close vote. What it should have been, though, is a vote that sends a message to the American people that we're not going to keep on giving George Bush a blank check.
But on the substance, do you agree with the Bush administration, General Petraeus among others, that Iranian forces, Quds forces and others, are involved in killing Americans in Iraq?
What I agree with is that Iran has been the major beneficiary of the war in Iraq. It has been a huge strategic error. Iran is an adversary. Their pursuit of nuclear weapons poses a grave threat to us. The fact that we have strengthened them as a consequence of the war in Iraq, I think, is a huge problem that I, as the next president, am going to have to deal with. There is no doubt that they are providing support and funding to the Mahdi army and other militias in Iraq. But what we have to do is to have the kinds of coherent policy inside Iraq that begins bringing our troops out of Iraq, that initiates the kind of hard-headed diplomacy with Iran, Syria, as well as our friends Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the regional powers. And that's not what's taking place right now, and the sense of the Senate that was passed did not help in that effort.
Do I come away from this interview, Senator, correctly and say that in these last, let's say, 100 days before the voting actually starts, we're going to see a more aggressive, assertive Barack Obama trying to pinpoint the differences, sharpen the focus between you and your Democratic opposition, including Senator Clinton?
There's no doubt that we're moving into a different phase of the campaign. The first part of a campaign is to offer some biography and give people a sense of where I've been and what I'm about. In this next phase, we want to make sure that voters understand that on big issues like the decision to go into the war in Iraq, I had real differences with the other candidates, and that reflects on my judgment. On issues like health care, I've got a track record of bringing people together that indicates I will be more successful in actually delivering on universal health care than the other candidates in this race. And I would not be running if I wasn't absolutely confident that I have a better chance of unifying the country, overcoming the special interests, speaking the truth to the American people in a way that actually brings about something new, as opposed to looking backwards and simply duplicating some of the politics that we've become so accustomed to and that, frankly, the American people, I think, are sick of.
I'll take that as a yes. Let me end the interview with one final question, Senator. If you do get the Democratic presidential nomination, would you consider Hillary Clinton as your running mate?
Oh, you know, I think I'm not going to touch that one, Wolf. Right now, I'm worried about getting the nomination. We'll have plenty of time to take a look at who would be a good vice presidential candidate.
But would she be on the short list?
Yeah, I think that Senator Clinton is a very capable person. Right now, my goal is to make sure that I'm the nominee and that she is still the senator from New York.
Senator Obama, thanks very much for coming into the Situation Room.
Great to talk to you, Wolf. Thank you.
Some Republicans wish they had more options. Can any of the Republican presidential candidates please some loyal constituents? You're going to find out why some Christian conservatives are not necessarily all that moved. And why would Ann Coulter suggest everyone should be Christian and say that she wants, quote, Jews to be perfected? We're going to tell you about some controversy, some outrage over her latest comments. Stay with us. You're in the Situation.
What's that?
Do you rinse at night? If it's Listerine, you're protecting your mouth all night long. While you sleep, your mouth is dry. That allows plaque and gingivitis germs to multiply. A quick rinse with Listerine puts those germs to bed, giving you 12 hours of protection. So rinse under the stars. Rinse by the moonlight. Say goodnight to germs. Listerine.
Introducing Renewin, the only intensive release supplement for joint care and energy. Renewin with glucosamine and chondroitin improves joint comfort, joint mobility, and boosts energy. Renewin in stores now.
Activon Ultra Strength Arthritis. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon. Safe and effective pain relief. Activon Ultra Strength Arthritis. In stores now.
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead.
Apply directly to the forehead.
Apply directly to the forehead.
Head on is available without a prescription.
Plug in the first ultra-adaptable room from Marriott. You're witnessing part of the training program for Citgo employees. It's called Life, where we depend on little things like buttons and paper clips, and on incredible people like firefighters and teachers. Like you, the people of Citgo know how important it is to be dependable, because for generations, we've delivered a steady supply of oil that's helped fuel this extraordinary thing we call life. Citgo, there at every turn.
Now make a 3-inch incision between the 4th and 5th abdominal muscles.
Shouldn't you be doing this?
Making important financial decisions on your own doesn't make much sense either. That's why Edward Jones prefers meeting clients face to face.
Communicate in less than a second with Nextel Direct Connect.
Nice work.
The largest and fastest push-to-talk network on the planet. That's getting it done at Sprint speed. Visit sprint.com/Nextel.
They're one of the most influential and powerful voting blocs within the Republican Party, but Christian conservatives haven't fallen in love with any of the GOP presidential frontrunners yet. Let's go right to Mary Snow. She's watching the story for us. Why haven't they, Mary?
Well, Wolf, it's not that candidates haven't been courting evangelicals. They certainly have. But Christian conservatives have a various list of issues with the 2008 contenders, and their vote is definitely up for grabs.
Just as you are.
Evangelicals haven't had this tough of a choice in the Republican presidential primaries since George Bush first ran for the White House. The frontrunner in the early states is a devout Mormon, which makes some evangelicals uneasy. The leading Republican candidate nationally is twice divorced and holds views on abortion that leave some social conservatives cold.
My view on abortion is that it's wrong, but that ultimately government should not be enforcing that decision on a woman.
Tony Perkins, a prominent conservative, warns nominating Rudy Giuliani would be very problematic. The president of the Family Research Council also says the former New York City mayor's views on social issues are indistinguishable from those of Senator Hillary Clinton. Camp Giuliani disagrees. In a statement, Texas Congressman and Giuliani supporter Pete Sessions says conservative voters understand that the differences between Hillary Clinton and Rudy Giuliani are blatantly obvious and critically important. In our latest national poll, Giuliani leads among born-again Christians. Mitt Romney is a distant fourth.
I believe you can recognize that the values that I have are the same values you'll find in faiths across this country.
A prominent evangelical supporter of Mitt Romney's echoed that sentiment in a letter to religious leaders and urged them to back Romney over Giuliani, saying, "I am more concerned that a candidate shares my values than he shares my theology."
I think the real significance is this now signals a shift where Mayor Giuliani and Governor Romney have decided that it's game on between the two of them, and they're going to slug it out until the end.
Now, this latest salvo in the fight for values voters comes 2 weeks after some top religious leaders threatened to back a third-party candidate if Giuliani is the GOP's nominee. Next week, all the Republican presidential candidates will appear at an influential values voters summit. Wolf?
Mary, thank you. Mary Snow reporting. She's known for saying controversial things on television, but wait until you hear what Ann Coulter's saying this time. Her comments about Jews and America. That's coming up. We'll be right back.
On Al Gore.
The world, the markets, the flow of ideas, the flow of money, experience, the flow of goods, reputation, capital, knowledge of the marketplace, research, the political reality, the economic reality, practical reality, relationships, brain power, wisdom, the world. Morgan Stanley, Worldwise.
A CNN worldwide investigation. The story the world can't afford to ignore. Planet in Peril, October 23rd and 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern on.
At 33 miles per gallon, the Escape Hybrid is the most fuel-efficient SUV in the world. And with lots of cargo room, available four-wheel drive, and plenty of zip, customers love them. The only problem is finding one. Well, I probably won't be able to say this for long, but right now at Landmark Ford, we do have a good selection of Escape Hybrids in stock from less than $26,000. So see us today at Landmark Ford in Tigard. We're just off 55 at the Haines Street exit. Get more, spend less.
If I lost my job, I'd lose what little life insurance I have. My Garden State Life policy gives me the peace of mind I need and the security my family deserves.
Usually life insurance isn't something that people like to think about. But if you have loved ones, you should. When you get right down to it, life insurance is a promise. It's a promise to your family that they won't have to worry about how they're going to pay the bills if something happens to you.
As a single mom, I'm all my kids have. I've got to think about what might happen to them if something happened to me.
Now, I chose Garden State Life to help me keep my promise because I believe that they have the financial strength to keep theirs. They promise quality coverage, up to $50,000. They promise no medical exam. They promise the full amount of coverage from day one with no waiting periods. And benefits will never decrease.
Call for your free informational promise package, including a free quote. Call 800-985-4100. 800-985-4100.
3, 2, 1. One historic night. Kurt Angle, Sting, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christian Cage, Abyss, and the most talked about man in wrestling today, Adam Pac-Man Jones.
It's all about the blend.
TNA Wrestling presents Bound for Glory. Live Sunday, October 14th on In-Demand Pay-Per-View.
The minds of the DC Snipers, CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Senator Barack Obama wonders about Senator Hillary Clinton's judgment and suggests you should as well. And to help you, Obama told me just a little while ago, you saw the interview, he's soon going to be stepping up his attacks. Let's go to our strategy session. Our CNN political analyst and Democratic strategist James Carville and conservative commentator Terry Jeffrey. He's editor-in-chief of Cybercast News Service. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. As a strategist, and I know you're a big supporter of Hillary Clinton, but is it smart for Barack Obama in these final 100 days or so before the actual voting starts to sharpen the knives and get tougher than he's been against specifically Hillary Clinton, the front runner?
I think he's got to do something. He's losing contact with her. I mean, if you just look at the way that the polls are going, plus, I mean, you remember, you're sitting there with Al Gore, probably going to win a Nobel Prize Friday, who's sitting on the sidelines, and if Edwards continues to falter and Obama continues to start to go down, they know there's going to be there may be an opening there. So
you really think Al Gore, especially if he wins the Nobel Peace Prize, would re-enter the presidential contest?
In politics, anything is possible. But I mean, clearly, if Obama were doing better and Edwards were doing better, so I mean, I think what Obama is doing is this is old ground that he's going over. But I feel he and his people probably feel like he needs to do something and to shore his supporters up and shore his fundraisers.
So it's
up.
smart for him to start getting tougher.
I don't know if it's smart, but he has to do something. It would be really stupid to do the same thing he's been.
Terry, what do you think?
Ironically, if he really does some damage to Hillary, he might help John Edwards more than himself by increasing his negatives. But I think he's got a fundamental problem, which has to do with the Iraq War. I think the principal rationale for one of the other major candidates opposite Hillary is they are to the left of her on the war, and they can appeal to the anti-war Democratic base more than she does. In that last Democratic debate, Barack Obama had an identical position on moving forward on the Iraq War to Hillary. That's not going to cut it.
Well, he's highlighting today the 5th anniversary of the Senate authorization of the war, a war that he opposed and that Hillary Clinton supported, at least in that authorization.
Well, if any Democrat doesn't know that, then they've been asleep as long as Fred Thompson. I mean, it's not hardly like not new ground. She's been attacked on a war vote since the beginning of the campaign. So he's not like interjecting anything new or something that Democrats didn't know before.
That's right. And John Edwards has positioned himself to the left of both Obama and Hillary on the war.
We're going to have a full report in the next hour on these latest controversial comments from the conservative commentator Ann Coulter. She was on NBC. It's crossing our CNN political ticker right now, but I just want to get you guys to react to this. It's a little clip of what she said on Donnie Deutsch's program. Listen to this exchange they had.
So we should be Christian. It would be better if we were all Christian?
Yes.
We should all be Christian.
Yes. Would you like to come to church with me, Donnie?
So you said we should just throw Judaism away and we should all be Christians then?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, it's a lot easier. It's kind of a fast track. We just want Jews to be perfected, as they say.
Wow, you didn't really say that, did you?
Yeah, no, that's what Christianity is. We believe the Old Testament, but ours is more like Federal Express. You have to obey laws.
In my old
we
my
know
old
we're
days,
all sinners.
Well, let's let James Carville go first. What do you think?
I don't think much of Ann Coulter, and I don't think much of the Republican Party. She headlines all the events. She's always on the news. In fact, I think very little of her. I'm not surprised by those comments. She's made other hideous comments equally as hideously and equally as outrageous. I know Donnie Deutsch, he's a good guy. I think he was probably shocked and offended by it. But no one should be. If you have Ann Coulter on your show, you have to expect her to say things that are like that. And that's what comes with it. And the Republicans keep having for a headline. I think they're going to pay for it.
What do you think, Terry?
Well, first of all, Ann Coulter is a friend of mine. I know that she's a good person. She's certainly not anti-Semitic, and I don't think the Donnie Deutsch place is a place to discuss profound issues of theology. I had no idea what Ann said or anything even that she'd said until a few moments before I came on this show, and I can't make any judgment, to tell you the truth, about what she said from those video clips. But I can guarantee you she's a good person, she's not anti-Semitic, and that's what I can say, given from what you just showed me.
Do you think there'll be pressure, though, on Republican presidential candidates and other Republicans to disassociate themselves from her now, given the nature not only of these remarks, but a lot of other remarks she's made?
All right, first we'd have to get into a pretty serious... First of all, we'd have to discern what actually Ann Coulter said and what actually Ann Coulter meant. And then are we really going to get into a debate in presidential campaigns about people's theology? Everybody's trying to say that we don't have a religious test for office in this country. Are we going to go to each candidate and ask them, okay, we want to know exactly what you think about the nature of Jesus Christ, the nature of Christianity, the nature of Judaism? No, I don't think we want to get into that.
James?
Well, first of all, she's a prominent Republican that does many Republican events, and I have... how do I say this without sounding ridiculous? I have thousands of Jewish friends, okay? And I've never heard a single one of them come up and say that can I finish? Sure. That my faith is imperfect. And I think they would resent the hell out of that. Well, and I don't blame them. And I don't think their faith is imperfect. In fact, I'm sort of in awe of their tradition.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you absolutely know for certain that Ann Coulter denigrated Judaism from what you saw in that clip there, or what you read in a few transcripts? Are you certain about that? You're morally certain about that,
I don't know a single Jew that doesn't think that she said that their religion was imperfect. I don't know a single one, but if there is one, I'd be glad to hear from them.
So you've gone around discussing this with Jewish theologians or Christian theologians?
I've had Jewish friends call me. This may be a shock to you, but there actually are Jews that heard about this, that picked up the phone and says, "Can you believe what that woman said?" No, it do. It's caused a little stir in the community.
And he did give her several opportunities. Donnie Deutsch, who told her he's a practicing Jew, and he was offended by what she said. But he did give her several opportunities to clarify, to amend, to revise, and she basically stuck with that line that Jews have to be perfected.
Yeah, well, look, I can tell you what I believe. I am a Christian. My Savior, Jesus Christ, was a Jew. I believe that Judaism is a great religion. I'm not convinced from what I've seen that Ann Coulter has said anything wrong or anything that someone ought to attack her for, and let's see.
Let's leave it right there. There'll be more, I'm sure, on this latest controversy involving Ann Coulter down the road. But thanks, guys, both of you, for coming in, James and Terry. And should a federal judge be stepping into the immigration wars? Jack Cafferty standing by with your email. Also ahead, former Mexican President Vicente Fox right here in the Situation Room. We'll talk with him about the 2008 presidential race and why he's concerned some Americans are hateful. Stick around. Lots more coming up right here in the Situation Room. Referring to the United States.
Coverage of America Votes 2008 is sponsored by U.S. Trust, Bank of America Private Wealth Management. Wealth management for today's wealth.
He owns an Italian roadster, a Le Mans racer, and a British limousine. And yet, the most valuable car in his collection is a 1968 bus. Today's wealth needs today's wealth management. U.S. Trust.
Closed captioning hours provided by Renewin, the only supplement for joint care and energy.
Introducing Renewin, the only intensive release supplement for joint care and energy. Renewin with glucosamine and chondroitin improves joint comfort, joint mobility, and boosts energy. Renewin in stores now.
That's a lot of grain.
It's okay, guys. I've done a course. What? Positive thinking. Okay. Positive thought has a positive impact. That's right. Okay, come on.
Talk is no substitute for action. Make it happen. The Royal Bank of Scotland Group.
That's the power.
Dug a hole. Guess what I found? The internet. Didn't even have to dig a hole, really. Did it to prove a point. The internet can't hide from the AT&T Laptop Connect card. Do business at mobile broadband speeds. In a hole, up a tree, or in a bush. Would you like tea with that download? Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
The internet can't hide anymore. And now get the AT&T Laptop Connect card for free and work in more places worldwide than anyone else. Singular's name is now AT&T.
This is how we treat our soldiers.
In my opinion, like a piece of dirt.
It's been over 7 months since the Walter Reed scandal put veterans' issues on the front page.
My life was ripped apart.
Now the veterans' budget is late, and America's heroes are still waiting for the care they deserve. Tell Congress and the White House to approve the veterans' budget now.
They're good enough to go and sacrifice their life, and we give them nothing.
It's time to fight for our veterans. Demand action at iavaaction.org.
My sleep number is 90, and Floyd here prefers his side of the sleep number bed at 15. My first wife didn't really appreciate it. We didn't get along. Her number was 60. My second wife was a 75, and that was for her and the cat. We've got it set at 15. If I can find another 15, she's welcome to whatever's left in bed. Let's go to sleep.
A sleep number is the key to a perfect night's sleep. The Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort. Call 1-800-SLEEP-NUMBER.
At AG Edwards, we offer objective financial advice, and that can help make sure your nest egg is ready when retirement arrives. AG Edwards, fully invested in our clients.
Let's check in with Jack Cafferty for the Cafferty File. Jack?
The question this hour is it the place of a federal judge to stop the government from enforcing the laws against hiring illegal aliens? A judge out in San Francisco said they're not allowed to enforce these laws because, I don't know, because of what because whatever. Anthony in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Neither federal judges, the Catholic Church, mayors providing sanctuary, bleeding heart liberals, nor the president kowtowing to big business have the right to protect lawbreakers. Are we, as citizens, the only ones obligated to obey the law? There's something wrong with this picture. Barrett in Arkansas. Sorry, Jack, the term federal judge really doesn't exist anymore. 95% of the people in that position are so liberal they don't even know what this country stands for anymore. Lauren in Los Angeles, the reason illegal employees could be fired under the government plan is that Social Security database is riddled with errors. False mismatches happen all the time. Until that database is corrected, the judge is absolutely right to block its use to fire employees. Devin writes, the state of this country never fails to amaze me lately. If a federal judge doesn't uphold federal laws, who will? Our country has lost all common sense about, well, frankly, everything. Deborah in Vista, California, if I didn't do the job for which I was hired, I would be fired. It's not his job to impede the efforts, too late and too little though they may be, of the government to finally enforce part of the immigration law. And Andy in Arizona, are we living in a bizarro world now or what? Up is down, down is up, illegal is legal. I'm beyond confused. Good luck, Jack, with understanding anything that goes on in Washington. Wolf.
Thanks, Jack, very much. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room. Happening now, relations with a key U.S. ally taking a dramatic and potentially very dangerous turn. Turkey reacting in anger after a controversial vote in the U.S. House of Representatives. You're going to find out what happened. Also, making bombs, training for holy war. Is this man an American? We're going to show you some disturbing new video of who's training Islamist militants. And a frightening arsenal found in the home of a 14-year-old boy. Coming up, what police believe he was planning. Also, my one-on-one interview this hour with the former Mexican president, Vicente Fox. He has a message for Lou Dobbs. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. A strong reaction from Turkey right now. The Turkish government pulling its ambassador from the United States. That after a House committee passed a resolution saying Turkey committed genocide in World War I against Armenians. Our State Department correspondent Zane Vergie is following this story for us, and it's escalating literally by the hour. Zane, what's going on?
It is, Wolf. Here at the State Department, officials are doing a lot of damage control. The big worry here today at the State Department is that could Turkey turn from a friend into an enemy?
Turks take to the streets, tired of supporting the U.S. and having little to show for it. Turkish officials say they just don't trust the U.S., which they thought was their closest ally. They feel betrayed by a congressional committee vote calling the killing of Armenians by Turks in World War I genocide. Turkey warned of consequences, and now it's making good on its threat, recalling its ambassador to the U.S. for consultations.
That is their decision. I think that it certainly will not do anything to limit our efforts to continue to reach out to Turkish officials.
Turkey's threatening more action if the resolution passes the full House.
Despite our warnings, U.S. Congress wanted to play hardball. We know how to play hardball as well.
Like cutting off its airspace to the U.S. military, like it did with France and Canada, who passed similar measures. It could also end access to Incirlik Air Base, which the U.S. military uses to transport critical cargo and fuel supplies to Iraq.
The passage of this resolution at this time would indeed be very problematic for everything that we're trying to do in the Middle East.
And might open a dangerous new front in the Iraq war. Turkey wants to destroy Kurdish rebels called the PKK that have launched cross-border attacks from northern Iraq, killing Turks.
PKK for us is what Al-Qaeda is to you.
And Turkish officials say if the U.S. won't go after the PKK, Turkey will. Turkish helicopters crossed into Iraqi airspace Thursday, and troops are dangerously poised along the border.
And Secretary of State Wolf Condoleezza Rice is reaching out to the top Turkish leadership, trying to assure them that the U.S. is a strong friend and a very good ally, and that Turkey is important to the U.S. She's also going to be reaching out to top House leaders, trying to convince them not to let the resolution go through in the full House. Wolf?
Zane, lots at stake right now. Thank you. Let's get some more now in the history of this issue. In April 1915, the Ottoman Empire encompassed the general area of what is now Turkey, but it was disintegrated disintegrating in World War I. Its Armenian population wanted independence, and Russia actually encouraged it. Ottoman Turks considered the Armenian-Russian alliance a huge threat and targeted Armenians. Between 1915 and 1923, Armenian leaders were rounded up and executed. Villagers were either driven out or killed. Independent historians have put the death toll somewhere between 600,000 and 1 million. Some have suggested even more. The Turkish government says no more than 300,000 people perished and that Armenians shouldn't count themselves as the only victims. We're learning right now of a surprising proposal to try to shake up the Bush administration's war on terror, pulling the Marines out of Iraq and redeploying them to Afghanistan. Let's go straight to our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr. She's watching this story for us. What do we know about this idea, Barbara?
Well, Wolf, what we do know is it's just an idea by the Marine Corps, but so far, nobody is saying yes to it.
With more than 800 Marines killed in combat in Iraq and more than 8,000 wounded, the Commandant, General James Conway, is raising an extraordinary idea. It's time for the Marines to pack up and leave. Senior military officials say it's just an option, but confirm Conway is suggesting Marines withdraw from Iraq in the months ahead and leave the fighting there to the Army. In return, the Marines would take on major combat in Afghanistan. The whole idea was received coolly by Defense Secretary Robert Gates.
My understanding is that it's, at this point, extremely preliminary thinking on the part of perhaps some staff people in the Marine Corps, but I don't think at this point it has any stature.
The early read in Congress wasn't much better.
What this means is that the Army is not able to meet its deployment schedules. And therefore, if the Marines move into Afghanistan, those Army troops now in Afghanistan can be redeployed to Iraq.
Why are the Marines proposing the idea? Violence is down significantly in Al Anbar province, where most of the 26,000 Marines now in Iraq are based. And the fight in Afghanistan mainly involves small units, something more suited to the Marines. A Marine who served in Ramadi thinks there are advantages.
They can narrow a lot of their focus of logistical trains and support operations.
But Wolf, the Corps is very sensitive to one criticism, that they're packing up and leaving an unpopular war in Iraq. Wolf?
Thank you, Barbara, for that. Barbara Starr reporting important developments potentially at stake right now. Jack Cafferty is watching all of this and a lot more. He's got the Cafferty file in New York. Hi, Jack.
The Army is taking in more and more recruits who have criminal records by granting them special waivers. Last year, 18% of recruits needed waivers because of problems with the law. That was up from 15% the year before. But the Pentagon defended its policy, saying most of the waivers were granted for misdemeanors like joyriding or violating curfew. Using marijuana more than once also makes a waiver necessary. In fact, the Pentagon insists its policy is strict enough that many members of Congress would have a hard time getting into the military today, which is probably a good thing, because if they didn't do a better job in the Army than they do in the Congress, well, we wouldn't stand a chance in a war, would we? Overall, 180,000 recruits joined the four branches of the military during the last year, which is enough troops to meet their needs. But officials noted that the Army also accepted fewer recruits who have graduated from high school. So the question then is this: what does it say about the state of the U.S. military if an increasing number of Army recruits have criminal records? Email us at CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Jack, thank you. Stand by. Up ahead, a booming black market in America's high-tech military secrets. Some of them actually winding up in very unfriendly hands. You're going to find out what's being done. Also, new video showing the chaos moments after a high school shooting. One student recording the noise and the confusion on a cell phone. We're going to show it to you. Plus, more on the fireworks you just saw here in the Situation Room during our strategy session. What Ann Coulter said that some people are saying was anti-Semitic. You judge for yourself. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Iranians are doing it, and then they're fine with that.
Well, gold is more than just a color for Century 21. It's a standard. What I do, it's about service. So much of my job is about things you don't see. The of research and negotiations so that you don't walk into a home that you're not interested in. Because time is gold. So that when that sold sign goes up, you struck gold.
Century 21. The gold standard.
So long, ooziness.
Thought I was gonna cry.
Denture paste can feel oozy. Yuck. But C-Bond adhesive wafers hold clean.
Bye-bye paste. Bye-bye yuckiness. Hello, happiness. Give C-Bond a try. Come on, give C-Bond a try.
Bye-bye ooze. Hello, C-Bond.
They never truly know. Are you good? The worry. The care, the obsession. They never truly know what it means to keep them safe. But we do. We're the car company with more 5-star crash test ratings than anybody in the country.
Whoa, you drive. Are you kidding? Get in the car.
Introducing the all-new Ford Taurus. Rated the safest full-size car in America.
Balanced on long trips. Residence Inn.
George Bush just vetoed Abby and Josh. He vetoed LaToya and Kevin. Bush vetoed health insurance for millions of America's children whose parents work but can't afford coverage. George Bush and his backers would rather send $500 billion to Iraq than spend a fraction of that here to keep our kids healthy. Congress can override Bush's veto, so ask your representative, do they stand with him or with them?
Of love.
The very best of Diana Krall.
Peel me a grape.
Includes 3 new tracks.
Go to my head.
Available at Starbucks.
He has a unique perspective on the United States as a neighbor and a sometimes partner tackling very controversial problems like immigration. Now that he's out of office, he's speaking his mind bluntly and he's raising some eyebrows. And joining us now, Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico. He's got a new book that's just out entitled Revolution of Hope, The Life, Faith, and Dreams of a Mexican President. Mr. President, thanks very much for coming in.
Wolf, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about a comment you made the other day on Monday. It's generating some controversy, and I want you to explain what you meant. You said this: the xenophobics, the racists, those who feel they are a superior race, they are deciding the future of this nation, referring to the United States. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, as long as, Wolf, we don't get a framework, a reform on immigration, there seems to be disorder, illegality, and under this empty space of institutions not meeting the challenge and building this framework, what I perceive here is fear in this nation today, and fear is not a good advisor, and I don't think fear should guide the decision on a well-structured.
So what you're saying, excuse me for interrupting, yes. As long as there's no comprehensive immigration reform, you see xenophobics and racists taking over? But who are you talking about? Who are you referring to?
Well, and xenophobics like Minutemen in Arizona, violent, aggressive, and just against immigration and against Mexicans.
But do you really think that they are going to take over? They're going to be in charge of the United States?
No, but they are in a way guiding the process because institutions are not meeting the challenge. As we say, bullfighting, you have to take the bull by the horns. This is a 100-year issue, immigration, and it can be a very strong asset to a nation, and it can be a win-win situation between Mexico and United States.
Is there anyone running for president of the United States on the Democratic or the Republican side right now that scares you?
No, not at all. But I don't pay much attention to candidates and what they say when they are in campaign, because later on they just don't deliver. This mañana we deal with immigration, which is what I heard on my 6 years of government. It's not up to the United States. United States is a nation of action. And I am absolutely part of this nation. I love this nation, and I want to see this nation leading on issues, difficult issues like this.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Your favorite candidate, though, is Hillary Clinton.
Women, yes, ladies. I mean, it's what we need in this world in the 21st century.
So you think the United States needs a woman to be the next president?
I would love to see a woman leading this nation, yes, because compassion, vision, love, smart, talent, that can give us a drive towards that leadership that we're missing in the rest of the world from United States.
So we can take this as an endorsement in effect of Hillary Clinton?
No, not necessarily.
But you want a woman?
Decided by Mexican people.
But she's the only woman who's running.
I applaud women everywhere, starting with my wife, Marta.
I want to play for you a question. I asked Lou Dobbs the other day. I told him you were going to be on this show, and I said, do you have a question you'd like to ask Vicente Fox? And he said he did have a question, and I want you to turn around and watch his question on the screen and listen to what he said.
Why is it that the Mexican government cannot come up with policies and execute policies that are in the interests of reducing the poverty and the dependency of the Mexican people? Half the Mexican people live in poverty, Wolf. Why in the world are they creating these sham arguments to export poverty and their own people from the country? Have they no pride?
All right, that's his question. What's your answer?
Well, first of all, Lou, hello. He came down to meet me right there on the office.
He did a show from Mexico.
Makeup.
Yeah.
And he was very courteous, very polite. We said hello, and he said, here I am, you want to debate with me? I said, yes, of course. And he said, well, I'm ready. And I said, me too, but right now I have an agenda. But why don't you come down to San Cristobal? We make the program there, the debate, and I take you to see around so that people is well informed, because the information you have is not true. We don't have 50% poor. We only have 4% under the $1 a day line, and only 18% under the $2 a day line of income. And we're working hard. I don't know, I'm sure, and I agree with him, that we have not solved all of our problems, but we are advancing and advancing.
But he's suggesting in that question that you're trying to export your problems by sending Mexicans to the United States.
Jesus Christ, if we love is our people in Mexico, who would be promoting exporting people when we need them in Mexico? We need that talent, that productivity in Mexico.
So why are they, so many of them, wanting to come to the United States?
We just haven't been able to cope with building the opportunities for them. We used to grow at 3.5% a year population rate. And today, fortunately, we're under 1%. Now Mexico is going to be able to cope with building the jobs, building the homes, and building the university spaces that our people need. I love my people here, but it's not the case. I mean, here, everybody that's seeing us, if you look backwards, most of us come from migrants. I mean, we have a heritage on that respect. Take Governor Schwarzenegger. I mean, he is a migrant.
Well, the United States is a country of immigrants.
He wants to be president of the United States.
As we know.
And they don't let him. I mean, that's not fair. He should be able to run for president here.
But specifically, the suggestion in Lou's question, you disagree with his fundamental premise.
Yes, and I told him so.
And are you going to debate him? What's the status?
Of course, but he accepted that he will come down to Mexico. We just are going to agree the date, because I want to take him to the communities, take him with people, take him with my friends that I met, and that they have to leave their home to go looking for opportunities. Mexico City, the border, or the United States.
I'm going to ask, before we go, because our time is running out, a quick question on the President George W. Bush. You write in your book, Revolution of Hope, on page 291, you write, on Iraq, I think that George W. Bush did what he deeply believed was right. The sad thing is that he was so deeply, deeply wrong. You deeply believed he was wrong from the beginning. You've said so on many occasions. You write that in the book. Did you ever call him up, pick up the phone, and say to him, George, you called him George. You are wrong. Don't do this.
We discussed many times, and we did that. And I did it with President Aznar, with Prime Minister Blair. They tried to convince me in. But I told them, look, first of all, we don't have the proof of those massive destruction arms that you're talking about. I have never seen the proof. Number two, what for did we create the United Nations? I mean, that institution is precisely...
So you told him this is a bad idea, and he said...
Absolutely.
He said to you, what did he say?
Absolutely.
He said you're wrong?
Absolutely. Yes. No, he tried to convince me in. And I was saying, look, this is not right. Let's rely on the United Nations. Let's support the United Nations. Let's give them the backup that they need and let them take there. And by the way, today, I think that the United States should withdraw its troops from Iraq and let the Iraqi people decide their own fate. You remember that book, which is Embrace Them and Let Them Go. Good advice for parents. It's a good advice for nations. You already embraced them. You already took away the dictator, Saddam Hussein. Now let the Iraqi people decide their fate and let the United Nations supervise the process.
We just skimmed the surface. The book is entitled Revolution of Hope. Vicente Fox is the author. Mr. President, you really pour your heart out in this book. Thanks very much for writing it. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Wolf, and good luck. Gracias.
Up ahead, a frightening arsenal discovered, but even more chilling is the person who collected it. Police say it's a 14-year-old boy. And making bombs, fighting a holy war. This man says he's an American, and he's helping train Islamic extremists. See the chilling video for yourself. That, a lot more coming up right here in The Situation.
They say a man should always dress for the job he wants. So why am I dressed up like a pirate in this restaurant? It's all because some hacker stole my identity. Now I'm in here every evening serving chowder and iced tea. Should have gone to freecreditreport.com. I could have seen this coming at me like an atom bomb. They monitor your credit and send you email alerts, so you don't end up selling fish to tourists in t-shirts.
Offer applies with enrollment and Triple Advantage.
What Korean Air is made of.
Excellence in flight. Korean Air.
Introducing Promise Active Super Shots. They're delicious fruit and yogurt drinks with natural plant sterols. When consumed with meals, natural plant sterols are clinically proven to remove cholesterol from your body every day, so you can have less of it in your life. Promise Active Super Shots, reducing cholesterol 1 3-ounce shot at a time. Promise, love your heart.
Larry King tonight. The truthiness about Stephen Colbert. He takes your calls and goes mano a mano with Larry King. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
Come to KFC and get 7 of the Colonel's famous drumsticks and thighs, the juiciest, most flavorful chicken, now only $4.99. Or get 14 drumsticks and thighs for just $9.99. And let the bonding begin. KFC chicken has the same great taste with 0 grams of trans fat per serving.
21 Washington, and my dad says it costs almost $1 million. My mom says they don't know how they're gonna pay for it. Oh, also, I have a big crush on Kenzie Walker, and my dad says that her family is nothing but trouble. But I like her. I really like her. Oh, and you know what else?
If you're not keeping your identity completely anonymous on the internet, everything you write or post is like saying it in public. For more information, go to pointsmartclicksafe.org.
Come to KFC and get 7 of the Colonel's famous drumsticks and thighs, the juiciest, most flavorful chicken, now only $4.99. Or get 14 drumsticks and thighs for just $9.99. And let the bonding begin. KFC chicken has the same great taste with 0 grams of trans fat per serving.
Our Carol Costello is monitoring some other stories incoming to the Situation Room right now. What's going on, Carol?
Well, let's start here in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, actually, is in a drought of historic magnitude. That assessment today from the commissioner of Atlanta's Department of Watershed Management. The drought has already forced restrictions in 61 North Georgia counties. Commissioner Robert Hunter appealed for conservation to protect the region's limited resources. Hunter says Lake Lanier, which provides water to a third of Georgia's residents, currently holds enough water for 121 days. He says the crisis is beyond extreme. California cracks down further on smoking. A bill signed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger yesterday would make it illegal to smoke in any vehicle carrying children. The measure seeks to reduce children's exposure to secondhand smoke. Motorists caught smoking with kids in the car could face fines of up to $100 per violation. The ban takes effect on January 1st. In news impacting small business, companies around the nation are finding that sponsoring local sports teams can help their bottom line. Methods include posting signs at Little League and football fields, as well as sponsoring individual teams. One Florida restaurant owner says team sponsorships create local exposure. He says another side bonus is a boost in employee morale. Let's look at the headlines right now, Wolf.
Thanks, Carol, very much. Up next, God, the flag, and a new controversy involving the U.S. Capitol's official architect. We're going to show you what it's all about. Plus, a threat some say is just as serious as terrorism. High-tech U.S. military secrets being sold to other countries. Tonight, the government is cracking down. We have new details. Stay with us. You're in The Situation.
The Bottom Line is sponsored by the UPS Store, the place for mailbox services, and a whole lot more. Go to cnn.com/Situation Room for more small business news.
You've got a big project you need printed in color, but you've got a black and white budget.
Don't you worry about a thing.
The UPS Store can help. And right now, we're helping you out even more with our 35-cent color copy sale. You'll get color copies that will make a big impression without denting your bottom line. So hurry into the 35-cent color copy sale today.
Don't you worry about a thing.
The UPS Store, the place for 35-cent color copies and a whole lot more.
Available today. For the first time on DVD, the epic sequel to Alex Haley's landmark Roots. Roots, the next generation. Also available, Roots, the complete collection.
To reduce your energy consumption by up to 40%, you can turn off your heat 3 days a week. Or get the most energy-efficient furnace from Trane. Learn more at Trane.com.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. If your adjustable mortgage rate keeps rising, maybe it's time to call eLoan at 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com for a fixed-rate mortgage with one low monthly payment. eLoan. Radically simple.
Sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Everything you need to stretch out on long trips. Residence Inn. Everything you need to stay balanced on long trips. Residence Inn.
What happens if your latest product goes global in a single bound? Because we consider what might change tomorrow, our customers can feel more relaxed about what might happen today. Zurich, because change happens.
To our viewers, you're in The Situation Room. Happening now, the word God can be used again on Capitol Hill flag certificates. The acting architect of the Capitol is changing the rules for the personalized certificates that are given with flags flown over the Capitol. There will be no restrictions except that they're limited to 300 characters. The United Nations preparing to look for possible war crimes or crimes against humanity by U.S. security contractors in Iraq. UN officials will review fatal shootings of Iraqi civilians by private guards hired by the State Department. One high-profile case involves Blackwater USA and the killings of 17 Iraqis. And Walmart counters what its CEO is calling emerging economic nationalism. He told a retailing conference Walmart relies on low-cost imports to keep consumer prices low. He says U.S.-made products are simply too costly for the company's sell-for-less model. I'm Wolf Blitzer here in the Situation Room. High-tech military secrets up for grabs by some of America's sworn enemies on the booming black market. The Justice Department now saying it's a very serious threat, one it's about to try to crack down on. Let's go right to our Justice correspondent, Kelly Arena. She's watching this story for us. Kelly, how big of a problem is this?
Well, Wolf, it's a big problem. It has been for some time, and it's growing. Officials say that the United States is target number one for technology theft. And the Justice Department says China and Iran pose particular concerns, but they're certainly not alone.
Night vision equipment, missile and nuclear technology, fighter jet parts. Officials say China, Iran, and entities in at least 106 other countries are trying to steal U.S. secrets.
It's a threat that's carried out in the shadows and does not raise the same level of alarm as the violence of a terrorist attack or the sword rattling of a belligerent rogue state. But it is a very serious threat nonetheless.
Just last week, a case involving the illegal export of F-14 fighter jet parts, widely sought by Iran, and another involving missile and nuclear reactor equipment illegally sent to Pakistan. The Justice Department is creating task forces to crack down on these black market networks.
Our enemy has openly and plainly stated that they seek weapons of mass destruction, and there's no doubt that if they gain access to them, they'll use them.
The first step, train prosecutors who either don't want or don't know how to pursue such complex cases. Gary Milholland, an arms proliferation expert, calls it long overdue.
We've seen a lot of cases where U.S. firms or U.S. citizens have illegally exported things to Iran, to China, and basically received a slap on the wrist or very little attention or no prosecution at all.
Next, tighten restrictions on technology that can be used for multiple purposes, like this. It's a triggered spark gap, which can be used to blast kidney stones or trigger nuclear weapons.
Now, one big problem may be the U.S. government itself, Wolf. A recent congressional probe found that agencies had difficulty coordinating investigations and agreeing on how to proceed. Now, this new initiative is designed to hopefully correct that. And with so much at stake, Wolf, let's hope it works.
Let's hope it does, Kelly. Thanks very much. Kelly Arena reporting. There's some new disturbing video that's coming out calling to mind the case of the Taliban American John Walker Lind. This time a man believed to be an American caught on tape in Somalia training for holy war. Let's go to Brian Todd. He's watching this story for us. Brian, what do we know about this man?
Well, Wolf, we have a short clip of him that intelligence agencies are looking at right now. His identity and how he got to that remote battleground in the war on terror are still a mystery.
A man with what seems to be an American accent, training with a Taliban-style group in Somalia.
All Muslims of America.
The young militant rails against the U.S.-backed Somali and Ethiopian forces that his group has been fighting for power. On this video, he is called Abu Mansour the American, a military instructor for the Islamic Courts Union, a group that's not formally affiliated with al-Qaeda, but has been accused by U.S. officials of harboring al-Qaeda operatives. The group denies that. In this video, he tells American Muslims their brothers in Somalia stood up to oppressive rule by the American-backed warlords. He's later shown demonstrating how to make a bomb. The video was shot by Al Jazeera. CNN obtained it from the Middle East Media Research Institute, a group that monitors and translates media from the Middle East, mostly from the Muslim and Arab world, and is seen as sympathetic to Israel. CNN ran this by 3 different U.S. intelligence agencies. Officials tell us they're examining the video, but could not immediately confirm who he is or if he's American. If he is, why would he join forces with a down but not out jihadist group in an obscure corner of the war on terror?
I suspect he's one of these volunteers, just like John Walker Lind, who really is taken by the movement. He, just like people are into extreme sports, if you go to Somalia, you're a real thrill-seeking jihadi.
Somalia is one of the world's most chaotic battlegrounds with fragmented alliances. One terrorism expert who's been there says this young man probably doesn't understand those alliances, probably doesn't know his way around the country, and likely has Somalis translating for him in the field. Wolf.
You know, there are U.S. forces who are there in the Horn of Africa. This supposed American, could he be, I know you've been doing a lot of reporting on this today, could he be actually used to go after Americans who are there?
Well, one expert says that doesn't seem likely right now. This group, the Islamic Courts Union, has been defeated now twice in Somalia. They are trying to regroup. Still, it could happen. As this expert says, this is asymmetrical warfare. This group could get lucky.
Brian Todd, thanks very much for that story. Somalia, by the way, is located in the Horn of Africa, and the U.S. has a troubled history there, as you probably remember. Back in 1992, American forces joined peacekeeping efforts in Somalia, but Osama bin Laden objected to the presence of U.S. troops in a Muslim country. He called for attacks on those American forces. On October 3rd, 1993, fighting broke out with Somali gunmen believed to have been trained by al-Qaeda. 2 U.S. helicopters were shot down, 11 Americans killed in the clashes, leading the U.S. eventually to withdraw from Somalia. You remember Black Hawk Down. Take a look at this. Police say they confiscated all these weapons from one person, and that person, they say, a 14-year-old boy. We're going to tell you what authorities also say he was planning on doing. And she's done it again. Ann Coulter is no stranger to making controversial statements. Wait until you hear what she's now saying about Jews. Stay with us here on The Situation.
Swallow Michael Moore.
I remember making snowboards by hand in my own garage. We couldn't afford the proper equipment, so there I was, applying polyurethane with a scuba mask on. Eventually, we started making some pretty good boards, but it still didn't catch on. People just didn't get it. Maybe it wasn't what we were saying, but how we were saying it. Then we found a way.
HP helps great companies like Burton build their brands. Get the tools to build yours online at hp.com/Burton.
I lost my job and my health insurance. The first thought was, how am I going to get my medication I need? I was in a lot of trouble.
If you're uninsured and struggling, America's pharmaceutical companies want to help. Call 1-888-4PPA now to see if you may qualify.
PPA saves me $1,300 a month.
We've been to nearly 1,000 cities in all 50 states, helping more than 4 million people in need.
Without my wife and PPA, I don't know if I could have been here today.
The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
That's the thing about risk. He never sleeps. For auto, home, or business, make sure your insurance keeps up. Travelers.
Awesome home theater, Coach.
You bet it is, John. Circuit City's the only place for high def.
What's that?
Fantasy scores. Hey, Circuit City's got Firedog. Firedog does it all. Home theater installs, wireless network, everything.
Then why aren't we your place?
Wife's afraid we'll ruin the new carpet.
For home theater installation, PC services, and more, ask for Firedog, only at Circuit City.
That's a rip shot.
Closed captioning hours provided by Renewin, the only supplement for joint care and energy.
Introducing Renewin, the only intensive release supplement for joint care and energy. Renewin with glucosamine and chondroitin improves joint comfort, joint mobility, and boosts energy. Renewin in stores now.
Plug in the first ultra-adaptable room from Marriott.
You did it once. Now it's time for history to repeat itself. The CNN YouTube Republican debate. Go to CNN.com/YouTube debates and post your questions for the candidates.
Be part of history, the CNN YouTube debate. This time, your voice will be heard.
And An arsenal of weapons allegedly gathered by a 14-year-old boy. Right now, police are trying to figure out exactly what he was going to do with all those guns. They say they stopped the Columbine-type attack. Let's go to our senior correspondent, Alan Chernoff. He's joining us now from Plymouth Meeting in Pennsylvania. Alan, what is going on?
Well, Wolf, only a moment ago, the police pulled out. They had scoured the entire school, spent hours in there making sure that everything is safe for tomorrow. They wanted to make sure that there are no hidden weapons in the school, and fortunately, they say there are none. Now, they do have right now a 14-year-old boy under arrest, as you said, charged with plotting a Columbine-style attack. This is a boy who actually did not go to the high school here. He was pulled out of the middle school last term, claiming that he was bullied, so the parents simply just pulled him out. The police here, they are well aware of what school violence is all about, because only last December there was a shooting at another high school 4 miles away from here. So they've been in close contact with the students in the entire school district, and let me tell you, it really did work, because one of the boys at school here was approached by the boy under arrest. He was being recruited to participate in a planned attack. The boy spoke to his parents, they went to the police, and the arrest was made yesterday. They checked out the boy's home, and they found in his bedroom, they found 30 BB guns, 7 handmade grenades, and a 9mm semi-automatic weapon that the police say, and the district attorney says, the mother purchased for her son.
People don't always use good sense, and I think that that's what you have here. My suspicion is that we're going to find that the parents have a great deal of answering to do for permitting this to happen.
Nazi paraphernalia also was found in the bedroom. The DA says he is trying to decide whether to charge the 14-year-old boy as an adult, and also investigating to see whether also he will file criminal charges against the mother. Wolf?
I'm looking at that arsenal on the table, and let's show it to our viewers once again. It's amazing. Supposedly, Alan, a 14-year-old boy, can collect all those weapons, all of them deadly, and there's ammunition to use them as well. Is that right?
Wolf, I spoke only moments ago with a woman whose grandchild goes to the school. The woman told me that she knows the parents, she knows the boy. She actually said that she taught him karate. She says that he is a very, very troubled young man, and he has been for quite some time. A boy who is overweight. She said that he has been bullied for a long time, and she said that he clearly had expressed a tremendous amount of interest in Columbine. And I should also mention that videos of that Columbine attack were also found in his bedroom.
How a 14-year-old boy can collect all those weapons is beyond me. All right, you'll do some more digging, Alan. Thanks very much. What a story. The halls of Success Tech Academy in Cleveland, Ohio are quiet right now, but the scene was very different yesterday afternoon. As you probably remember, there was chaos when a 14-year-old boy in Cleveland opened fire. Warren Marks was in his math class. I want you to watch what he took with his video camera. I want you to watch this.
Quiet down. Jim, get down. Hey, quit laughing. This is not a joke. It's not a joke.
It certainly was not a joke. When the shooting was over, 2 students and 2 teachers were wounded. The young shooter had taken his own life. The Bush administration is reviewing its options after a federal judge stalled a plan to crack down on illegal workers through the people who hire them. That happened yesterday. Let's go right to Mary Snow. She's watching the story. She's got some reaction to the judge's action. Are employers, first of all, Mary, relieved?
You know, well, if they are, but they certainly are not celebrating. Industries that depend on illegal workers to survive say without real immigration laws reformed, their livelihoods are at stake. From apple orchard owners in New York State to strawberry growers in California, farmers are relieved a judge ordered a temporary halt to the government's latest effort to crack down on illegal workers. They say if the Bush administration gets its way, it could spell ruin.
They would choose to be criminals or to go out of business and or possibly move their business outside of this country.
It's not just farmers. Business owners and unions joined the fight against the administration's plan to send out no-match letters to 140,000 businesses. The letters inform employers that some of their workers don't match the Social Security Administration's database. The message: fire the workers or face punishment. But even the government admits there are sometimes no matches due to things like a hyphenated name. Business owners are fearful it could open a can of worms.
Let's say you fire a legal worker because DHS told you that if you didn't, you might end up in jail, and then that person turns around and sues you because of an error in the database.
Homeland Security Department Secretary Michael Chertoff says if the no match is just a mistake, then it needs to be fixed. But he dismisses objections by some businesses to the no match rule.
They said there are a lot of illegal workers in this country. We're going to have to get rid of them. Well, the answer is that's right.
But a former INS commissioner says what's really needed is immigration reform, and ideas like the no-match rule don't work.
This was an effort by government agencies to more stringently enforce existing law. It's failed. The courts have said that it's going beyond their legal authority.
And in his ruling, a federal judge wrote that the government's no-match rule, as is, would have resulted in irreparable harm to innocent workers and employers. The judge still must make a decision on a permanent injunction, though. Wolf?
Would employers, Mary, be given a specific time to act?
They'd have about 90 days to comply. But some of these employers are saying that they don't have the resources to do that, and it's anticipated that about 8 million no-match letters would be going out.
Mary Snow in New York for us. Thanks, Mary, very much. Lou Dobbs is getting ready for his show that begins right at the top of the hour. I want you to tell our viewers, Lou, what you're working on. But before you do that, I want you to react, because as you know, we interviewed Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico. I want to play a little clip.
Padre.
Yeah, he speaks very highly of you. I want you to listen to this little clip, and then we'll talk. Listen to this. I want to play for you a question. I asked Lou Dobbs the other day. I told him you were going to be on this show, and I said, do you have a question you'd like to ask Vicente Fox? And he said he did have a question, and I want you to turn around and watch his question on the screen and listen to what he said.
Why is it that the Mexican government cannot come up with policies and execute policies that are in the interests of reducing the poverty and the dependency of the Mexican people? Half the Mexican people live in poverty, Wolf. Why in the world are they creating these sham arguments to export poverty and their own people from the country? Have they no pride?
All right, that's his question. What's your answer?
Well, first of all, Lou, hello. He came down to meet me right there on the office.
He did a show from Mexico.
Makeup.
Yeah.
And he was very courteous, very polite. We said hello, and he said, here I am, you want to debate with me? I said, yes, of course. And he said, well, I'm ready. And I said, me too, but right now I have an agenda. But why don't you come down to San Cristobal? We make the program there, the debate, and I take you to see around so that people is well informed, because the information you have is not true. We don't have 50% poor. We only have 4% under the $1 a day line, and only 18% under the $2 a day line of income. And
all right, you get the point, Lou. What do you think?
Well, first of all, the former president was very cordial in his own right, and I agreed to give him home court advantage in the debate that we're going to set up, and we will be down in San Cristobal and Chiapas in Mexico to have our debate. Well, let's talk about that poverty line. And there's nothing that can be lost here in translation, Wolf. And let me just quote to you, if I may, from Beatriz Zavala, who is the Mexican government's social development secretary and minister. 45 million Mexicans today live in abject poverty, and 14 million of those live in extreme poverty. That's incontrovertible. It is without question. And the fact is that I don't believe that President Fox, or for that matter, President Felipe Calderon, understands the impulse of what I'm saying when I criticize Mexico's government for its policies, its failures, its, in many cases, not outright incompetence and corruption. It is time for Mexico to behave as a mature, full partner in this hemisphere. And that means taking seriously border security. It means taking seriously economic development and not acting as if it should perform as a plantation to illegal employers in this country who want to continue to subvert wages for working Americans, who want to continue to provide a social safety valve for a Mexican government that has failed its people now for decades. It is time for a new beginning in this partnership between the United States and America, and now is the time. And that's one of the things I assure you that President Fox and I will be discussing in San Cristobal.
We're going to look forward to that debate. Lou, tell us what's coming up at the top of the hour.
Absolutely. Tonight we're reporting on the bluntest warning so far about dangerous food imports from communist China. Congressional investigators say that food imported from China presents now, quote, a clear and present danger to American consumers. We'll have complete coverage. Also tonight, a revolt by police officers in one of this country's largest cities on the issue of illegal immigration. Officers demanding the right to report more illegal aliens to federal agents to protect their community and their citizens. And you won't believe what members of Congress are arguing about tonight. Some are calling it redneck rash. NASCAR supporters calling it an outright insult. I call it outright ignorance and stupidity on the part of the United States Congress. We'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about it with two leading congressmen, in fact, and two Democratic lawmakers from New York will be here to tell us why they're going to tell the Democratic governor of this state to go to hell on his idea to give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Join us, please, for all of that, all the day's news and more at the top of the hour, right here on CNN. Wolf, back to you.
All right, Lou, thanks very much. Conservative columnist Ann Coulter sparking some fresh outrage. She says that everyone should be Christian. Hear her latest comments. That's coming up. And what does it say about the U.S. military if an increasing number of Army recruits have criminal records? That's Jack's question, the Cafferty file, a lot more, all right here in The Situation.
Hey, wait for it.
What your child brings back from an RV trip is more than you can possibly imagine. What will you discover? Go RVing. Visit GoRVing.com for a free video and see an RV dealer.
But again, we're not dealing with the issue.
Relentless.
This is anti-middle class.
Independent.
Doesn't anybody deserve a government that works?
Lou Dobbs tonight, next on CNN.
I was reading about Measure 50.
The tobacco tax? Sounds good.
Well, it's millions in new taxes to support a new and expanded healthcare bureaucracy.
I thought Oregon already had a state health plan.
Well, we do. And the bureaucrats can't even get 60,000 kids who are eligible enrolled in it. But now they want a new one.
Shouldn't we make the existing system work? Enroll all those kids before we raise taxes for a new program?
Fix the system we have before throwing money at a new one. No on 50.
So, 12 o'clock tea time, someone rear-ends us. Day shot, right? Except I just switched to Progressive Direct Online. They gave me a couple of competitive prices. I picked Progressive and saved $400 a year. And I've been trying to tell these guys I also get their concierge service. So I drop off my car, pick up a rental, and we're gone. So I save $400 and our tea time. Fantastic.
Progressive Direct. It's about you. And it's about time. Sign up online and save $50.
Now I had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
At Sandals, having the time of your life means having everything you've ever dreamed of. But most of all, it's having the time together. Get up to 50% off depending on date of travel. Call 1-800-SANDALS or visit our website.
Stop wishing, start believing. We're granting your wishes on our 14th birthday. Exquisite jewelry and gemstones from across the globe directly to you. Perfect gifts for you or that special someone at prices you never thought possible. So make a wish and watch Jewelry Television make your dreams come true. Birthday week, October 6th through the 14th. Only on Jewelry Television and JTV.com.
Of the criminally insane. CNN, Saturday night, 10 Eastern.
Best-selling author Ann Coulter has raised more than a few eyebrows with her latest off-the-cuff remark. During an interview with CNBC's Donnie Deutsch, the columnist and author took a sharp swipe at Jews. That's at least the way a lot of people are interpreting it. Let's go to Carol Costello. She's watching this story for us. What exactly, Carol, did Ann Coulter say this time?
Well, you know, Wolf, it was such an odd exchange, kind of giggly, flirty, uncomfortable. But clearly, as the interview wore on, Donnie Deutsch, the CNBC host, who happens to be Jewish, was offended by Coulter's remarks. She intimated the U.S. would be a better place if there were not any Jewish people. She said that it would be better if Jews perfected themselves into Christians. Listen.
It would look like New York City during the Republican National Convention. In fact, that's what I think heaven's going to look like. People were happy, they're Christian, they're tolerant, they defend America.
Christian, so we should be Christian, it would be better if we were all Christian?
Yes.
We should all be Christian?
Yes.
We should just throw Judaism away and we should all be Christians then? Or,
yeah.
Really?
Well, it's a lot easier.
So
it's kind of a fast track. Do you know what Christianity is? See, we believe your religion, but you have to obey.
No. That's why Israel left the earth. I mean, what, no Jews?
No, we just want Jews to be perfected, as they say.
Wow, you didn't really say that, did you?
Yeah, no, that's what Christianity is. We believe the Old Testament, but ours is more like Federal Express. You have to obey laws. We know we're all sinners.
Donnie Deutsch, not Danny. Sorry, Donnie. Ann Coulter, of course, as you may know, has a book out. It's called If Democrats Had Any Brains, They'd Be Republicans. It's in the top 10 on many bestseller lists. Not many Republicans or conservatives willing to comment on Coulter's comments. Some analysts telling me they feel they consider Ann Coulter kind of like a crazy aunt, one that's best to ignore. Wolf?
All right, thanks very much. We'll stay on top of this little controversy as well. Let's go right back to Jack Cafferty in the meantime for the Cafferty File. Jack.
What program was that on?
That was on Donnie Deutsch's CNBC program.
Never heard of it. Question this hour, what does it say about the state of the U.S. military if an increasing number of Army recruits have criminal records? Andrew writes from Germany, I'm a soldier in the Army, and the Army recruiting statistics mean that the war is taking a toll on people's desire to serve. I don't think joining the military is as appealing when you face multiple deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. Lowering standards to maintain and grow the force is a necessary evil while fighting a war with an all-volunteer Army. Jane writes from Ohio, it means it's time to institute the draft. If America's fighting the war on terror, then all of America needs to get involved. Otherwise, it is time to bring the troops home. What parent wants their son or daughter to enlist so they can live and serve with those with criminal records? Tom in Arizona, doesn't seem like a wrong idea to me. Once upon a time, judges would give young offenders a choice of jail or the military, and quite a few lives were made better. Art from West Virginia, let's face it, John Kerry got in trouble for alluding to this, but it's the truth. If you're well educated or have other career opportunities, joining the military is simply not going to be high on your list. Perhaps right after 9/11, some recruits were inspired by patriotism to join up. But now, in the face of a terribly flawed military policy and so many broken promises to our brave fighting men and women, even the enlistment bribes offered to those with little prospects elsewhere aren't enough, and the recruiters are forced to relax their standards. R writes, it means the Army of today is willing to accept pretty much the same standards of personal conduct from today's recruits that it accepted from the recruits that won World War II. And Dan in Cincinnati, it's a good thing because it makes their background more similar to that of the people who vote their funding. If you didn't see your email here, you can go to cnn.com/Cafferty File, where we post more of them along with video clips of the Cafferty File. Wolf.
Jack, thanks very much. See you back here in an hour. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel.
We designed it to wake up the senses,
Sun in the sky, you know how I
to please your eye
and invite your touch.
Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel.
We designed it to move you.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
I'm Michael Burton. We designed it for you. Enclave, the finest luxury crossover ever.
Communicate in less than a second with Nextel Direct Connect.
Nice work.
The largest and fastest push-to-talk network on the planet. That's getting it done at sprint speed. Visit sprint.com/Nextel.
Every day, it seems, talk of oil, energy, the environment. Where are the answers? Right now, we're the largest producer of clean, renewable geothermal energy in the world, generating enough energy to power 7 million homes. Imagine that. An oil company as part of the solution. This is the power of human energy.
Introducing Renewin, the only intensive release supplement for joint care and energy. Renewin with glucosamine and chondroitin improves joint comfort, joint mobility, and boosts energy. Renewin in stores now.
Activon Ultra Strength Arthritis. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon. Safe and effective pain relief. Activon Ultra Strength Arthritis. In stores now.
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead.
Apply directly to the forehead.
Apply directly to the forehead.
Head on is available without a prescription.
The HR pros at Administaff provide administrative relief, big company benefits, reduced liabilities, and a systematic way to improve productivity for America's small businesses. Small business is good for America. Administaff is good for small business.
Plug in, the first ultra-adaptable room from Marriott.
See you back here in an hour. Let's go to Lou in New York. Lou?
Well, thank you. Tonight, a revolt by police officers in one of this country's largest cities on the issue of illegal immigration and law enforcement. Those police officers demanding the right to report illegal aliens to federal authorities to protect their community and their citizens. Also tonight, one of the bluntest warnings so far about dangerous food imports from communist China. Congressional investigators saying food imported from China presents, quote, a clear and present danger. We'll have that special report. And you won't believe what members of Congress are arguing about this time. Some are calling it redneck rash. NASCAR supporters calling it an outright insult. We'll find out what all the fuss is about, what in the world this Congress is thinking. I'll be talking with two leading congressmen on that issue and a great deal more. All of that, all the day's news, straight ahead here tonight.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Thursday, October 11th. Live from New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. The United States tonight faces an escalating crisis with Turkey that could threaten vital American interests in the Middle East. The Turkish government today recalled its ambassador to the United States after Congress declared the World War I killing of Armenians to be a genocide. The Turkish military is preparing to launch a military strike against Kurdish rebels in Iraq. Bush administration officials tonight say the vote in Congress could jeopardize U.S. military operations in Iraq. Defense Secretary Robert Gates says 70% of all U.S. air cargo for Iraq passes through Turkey. Zane Verjee has our report from the State Department. Zane?
Lou, at the State Department today, diplomats are doing some damage control, really. They're especially worried that Turkey, who's a friend, could turn into an enemy.
Turks take to the streets, tired of supporting the U.S. and having little to show for it. Turkish officials say they just don't trust the U.S., which they thought was their closest ally. They feel betrayed by a congressional committee vote calling the killing of Armenians by Turks in World War I genocide. Turkey warned of consequences, and now it's making good on its threat, recalling its ambassador to the U.S. for consultations.
That is their decision. I think that it certainly will not do anything to limit our efforts to continue to reach out to Turkish officials.
Turkey's threatening more action if the resolution passes the full House.
Despite our warnings, U.S. Congress wanted to play hardball. We know how to play hardball as well.
Like cutting off its airspace to the U.S. military, like it did with France and Canada, who passed similar measures. It could also end access to Incirlik Air Base, which the U.S. military uses to transport critical cargo and fuel supplies to Iraq.
The passage of this resolution at this time would indeed be very problematic for everything that we're trying to do in the Middle East.
And might open a dangerous new front in the Iraq war. Turkey wants to destroy Kurdish rebels called the PKK that have launched cross-border attacks from northern Iraq, killing Turks.
PKK for us is what Al-Qaeda is to you.
And Turkish officials say if the U.S. won't go after the PKK, Turkey will. Turkish helicopters crossed into Iraqi airspace Thursday, and troops are dangerously poised along the border.
Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice has already spoken to the Turkish foreign minister, and she's waiting also to speak to the Turkish president and prime minister. The message, Lou, that she's going to have for all of them is that the administration regrets the resolution, it opposes it, and is going to do everything it can to try and have it not pass through the full House. Lou?
Well, whose side would the administration then be on? Would the administration be on the side of the United States Congress, the United States government, the American people, the Turkish government, or the Turkish people?
Well, the officials from the State Department that we've talked to say that they're on the side of national security for the United States of America. They say that Turkey is absolutely critical in the war on terror as well as the war in Iraq, and they don't want to see an escalation, as you know, on the border.
Well, they may not want to see an escalation, but the Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, has now seeking telephone call appointments with the Prime Minister, the President of Turkey, rather than carrying out ongoing diplomacy. The advisor to the Turkish Prime Minister, frankly, comes across as an arrogant buffoon, suggesting that the United States government ignored, quote unquote, our warning, as he put it. A bit of an arrogant twit, wouldn't you say?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to suggest
I suspected
that,
you might
but,
not.
Well, I don't think that's entirely fair, but what he said was that the Turkish parliament will react for sure in some way to this, and he was very critical of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, saying that basically, quote, she chose a couple of thousand Armenian Americans over 72 million Turks and 140,000 U.S.
Well, as you would
troops in
say,
Iraq,
that would
and
not
she
be,
said
I think the
that was
expression
her
you used
choice.
is that would not be fair. Let's, again, make it very clear. That construction would be utterly unfair and inaccurate. And it's about time for somebody to bring a mature understanding to this relationship between Turkey and the United States. One which, by the way, is not, as you know and as you've been reporting, is not only being weakened at this moment between the United States and Turkey, but the relationship between the European Union and Turkey as well. Thank you very much. Zane Burgee from the State Department. Insurgents killed 2 coalition troops in a rocket attack on the headquarters of U.S. forces in Iraq. The military did not say whether the troops were American or from another country. 38 troops wounded in that attack. The base, called Camp Victory, is in the western suburbs of Baghdad. U.S. commanders say insurgents fired the rockets from an abandoned school just outside the base. The U.S. military today said insurgents killed another of our troops in a separate attack in eastern Baghdad. 14 of our troops have been killed in Iraq so far this month. 3,822 of our troops killed since the beginning of the war. 28,171 troops wounded, 12,622 of them seriously. U.S. Marine Corps commanders tonight are considering proposals to redeploy thousands of Marines from Iraq to Afghanistan. The Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Conway, says the war in Afghanistan is more suited to the Marines' concept of expeditionary warfare. It is not clear whether the proposal has the support of commanders from other military branches or certainly the White House. Barbara Starr reports from the Pentagon.
With more than 800 Marines killed in combat in Iraq and more than 8,000 wounded, the Commandant, General James Conway, is raising an extraordinary idea. It's time for the Marines to pack up and leave. Senior military officials say it's just an option, but confirm Conway is suggesting Marines withdraw from Iraq in the months ahead and leave the fighting there to the Army. In return, the Marines would take on major combat in Afghanistan. The whole idea was received coolly by Defense Secretary Robert Gates.
My understanding is that it's, at this point, extremely preliminary thinking on the part of perhaps some staff people in the Marine Corps, but I don't think at this point it has any stature.
The early read in Congress wasn't much better.
What this means is that the Army is not able to meet its deployment schedules, and therefore, if the Marines move into Afghanistan, those Army troops now in Afghanistan can be redeployed to Iraq.
Why are the Marines proposing the idea? Violence is down significantly in Al Anbar province, where most of the 26,000 Marines now in Iraq are based. And the fight in Afghanistan mainly involves small units, something more suited to the Marines. A Marine who served in Ramadi thinks there are advantages.
Instead of having to be redundant and set up two systems to go to two separate places, although generally in the same area of the world, they can narrow a lot of their focus of logistical trains and support operations and exclusively focus on that kind of support for Iraq.
But some military officials say Marines in Afghanistan would still depend on the Army and Air Force for everything from food to air cover for combat operations. The idea may be the clearest signal yet that the military is trying to prepare for years of conflict ahead in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Earlier this week, Secretary Gates said he thinks the military must be better at conducting the counterinsurgency wars that have emerged.
We can expect that asymmetric warfare will remain the mainstay of the contemporary battlefield for some time.
Lou, even though the idea of Marines taking over in Afghanistan may in fact make some military sense, the Marines and the Pentagon are very sensitive to one criticism, that the Marines may be seen as packing up and leaving an unpopular war in Iraq, Lou.
Well, there seemed to be lots of room for lots of interpretation on this one, Barbara. The fact is that this discussion gets out of the Pentagon apparently well ahead of any decision-making on the part of the White House or the top level of the Pentagon.
You bet. General Conway's proposal, which the Marines took great pains behind the scenes here today to say it was just a proposal, it's just an idea, it's just preliminary, seemed to take an awful lot of top commanders and top officials here in the building quite by surprise, Lou.
But as you point out in your report, raising some very serious and important considerations. Thank you very much, Barbara Starr from the Pentagon. Joining me now for the discussion on this proposal and evaluation of the issues, General David Grange, one of the country's most decorated former military commanders. Dave, good to have you here. What do you think of the Marines unilaterally apparently deciding that Afghanistan would be more suitable for, as General Conway put it, expeditionary warfare than Iraq?
Well, I think Barbara hit the nail on the head. In fact, it's just a proposal. Everybody's out a little bit in front of the Secretary of Defense. If I was a Marine, I would like to focus on one area. Afghanistan would be my choice. Both areas, you would still need Army and Air Force logistical support as stated. But I think you can do expeditionary warfare in places in Iraq just as well as you can do in Afghanistan.
Yeah, what's the point of doing it in Iraq? And other than, it's clear that the cooperative multi-branch approach to warfare, and that's become sort of the darling of the Pentagon, may be attractive. But why in the world not divide the Marine Corps, for example, in Afghanistan, and put the Army with its particular strengths and approaches into Iraq?
Well, you could. It would make it one advantage. It's clear to have one in one area, AOR, and one in the other. But it doesn't have to be that way. Jointness is the buzzword, in our armed forces, and they can operate side by side or they can operate separately. Yeah. But they still all need support from the other services. Yeah,
there's a lot of talk about this joint strike forces, multi-task force, multi-branch approaches, etc. The fact is we're sitting in Iraq more than 4 years after invading a country of 25 million people, a third world nation. We are caught in an insurgency. They are bleeding us, killing our young men and women there. They're bleeding our treasury as well. It's unsustainable. What is this military going to do about it?
Well, the biggest problems of the military is, one, of course, retaining the rank structure that you have trained, the captains, the majors, the non-commissioned officers, the sergeants. They're assessing people into the military at an appropriate rate, but they can't maintain those that are trained, and that's a tough challenge. And it's repetitive tours. It's equipment that's basically worn out, which I think is the biggest looming problem.
Well, is the leadership in the Pentagon worn out? Why in the world are these generals leading the most advanced technological military, the best trained military in the world, unable to achieve victory on any terms in Iraq?
Okay, I think that's a great question to ask one of the political candidates, and says, why is a nation not at war?
Well, I'm going to ask it of West Point graduates and those people leading the United States military right now, because they have not stepped aside from their commands. They are following the orders of a commander-in-chief and civilian leadership that to this point has not brought victory. I mean, at some point, aren't you concerned about the quality of the general staff leading our fine young men and women in uniform?
Always concerned about the quality. The quality of the leadership is what makes victory possible, but so does the leadership in Congress and other aspects of our nation.
Well, let me make it really easy for you. I wouldn't give you 2 bits for the civilian leadership in either the White House or the Congress, Democrat or Republican. Now where do we go?
Well, I guess we'll find out in the new elections, but until that time, we got people in harm's way. They need to be resourced, and we need to be behind them to win.
Absolutely behind them to win is the operative phrase in your statement. How do we get there? And
how do we get there?
And who do we turn to win?
Well, why don't we give the current military leadership, the current ambassador in Iraq, a little bit of time and chance, because the new strategy has only been in place since June 15th.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning of the year, let's reassess that.
Dave, but you can also understand we're past 4 years in this thing. We've got nearly 30,000 Americans wounded. We got just about 4,000 killed. It's operating a military expedition, and this occupation, invasion, and war that we're carrying out. 4 years to start talking about faith-based military strategy. This is not about supporting our young men and women. I don't know of a single American who does not support every man and woman in uniform. But I can't also at the same time find many Americans who aren't awfully concerned about why the most advanced military in the world can't get it done.
Well, agree. And we're going over 4 years into this war. But really, you know where we are? We're at like year number 2, because we wasted 2 years. So now we're playing catch up. And in fairness to those that gave their lives and those that are severely wounded, if we pull out now, nothing gets accomplished.
Oh, I'm not asking. Let me be clear. I haven't said a word about pulling out, have I?
Oh, I know you haven't.
And I am not going to say a word about pulling out. But what I am going to say is, out of respect for those who have been killed in Iraq and Afghanistan, out of respect to those wounded, and out of respect to this nation and the values that stand for in our national interest, by God, isn't it time to talk about what in the world we're going to do to achieve a victory, to win?
Right, and that's the current strategy right now, which I believe has a shot at it. We won't know here until the beginning of the year. Make an assessment then. It's going to take at least a year to get out once we start, just half the force. So while we're there,
again,
we better go.
I'm talking about achieving some sort of national interest, achieving national goals here. We can't even articulate. This Congress has been discussing intelligence and debating the beginning. I mean, today we had Senator Barack Obama walking around talking about he didn't vote for the war, as if that's some sort of discussion, intelligent discussion about what to do about the war we're engaged in.
Right, and what politician have you heard that gives an alternate strategy? None.
I can't think of a military leader who talks about an alternate strategy either.
No,
and that is, I think, of great concern to all of us. I'm going to have to break away here, General.
Okay.
But as always, I appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure.
Thank you, General Dave Grange. Still ahead, a startling new warning about dangerous food imports from communist China. It doesn't get clearer than what the United States Congress today heard. Lisa Sylvester will have our report. Lisa?
Lou, congressional investigators who visited China present shocking results about Chinese food imports, major loopholes, spotty inspections, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is unable or unwilling to do much about it. Lou?
Lisa, thank you very much. Look forward to that report. Also, the federal government ignoring safety concerns about Chinese drugs as well being exported to this country, allowing even more Chinese medications into the United States. Police officers in one of the nation's biggest cities simply furious with their local leaders on the issue of illegal immigration. We'll have that special report on community service as seen by local law enforcement and their political leadership. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Lou Dobbs Tonight, brought to you by Volvo, who believes that life is better lived together. Volvo, for life.
Versatile XC90 from Volvo.
Lease a 2008 Volvo XC90 for $389 a month for 24 months. $3,408 cash due at signing.
I'm so happy to see you. I'm looking for options, investment options, a range from someone with experience like you. My money is in it for the long term.
You come to the wrong place. You want the Van Kampen Lighthouse.
Look for the right lighthouse. Van Kampen Investments. Call your advisor for a prospectus. Please read it carefully and consider fund objectives, risks, charges, expenses, and other information before investing.
Call today for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express and start earning double miles in more places more often. Apply now and get up to 17,500 bonus miles. With award tickets starting at just 25,000 miles, you can fly free sooner. Plus, the card is fee-free the first year. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES. Call now for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card and earn 2 miles for every eligible dollar you spend for even faster travel awards on Delta and 15 airline partners. Take advantage of this great offer today and get 17,500 miles closer to a free trip. Plus, enjoy the card fee-free the first year. Apply online or call 1-800-SKY-MILES now.
You did it once. Now it's time for history to repeat itself. The CNN YouTube Republican debate. Go to CNN.com/YouTube debates and post your questions for the candidates.
Be part of history, the CNN YouTube debate. This time, your voice will be heard.
Dangerous food imports from communist China gaining the attention of the United States Congress. A congressional report describes a nationwide system of unsafe food production in communist China, and you can expect that contaminated food to be landing on your table. There's very little chance that it will be inspected when it reaches American shores. Lisa Sylvester now reports on explosive testimony today at a congressional hearing on those dangerous food exports to the United States.
Food from China presents a clear and present danger to Americans. That, according to congressional investigators who visited the country in August.
I don't think anybody knowledgeable about the system can say the Chinese food supply is safe.
China has hundreds of millions of private farms. The committee report found that the Chinese government has minimal ability to monitor them and the food they produce. The U.S. government isn't doing a much better job. The FDA inspects fewer than 1% of imported food products. By comparison, Japan inspects 15%. There are 321 ports of entry into the United States. FDA inspectors are at fewer than a third of them. And the FDA does not require food products from China to be certified as safe, even though other countries only use importers that have a certification, a label given to Chinese farms and processors that have been inspected and audited.
Well, if you're not certifying, we're only inspecting 1% of the food coming in this country. We're not keeping the American people very safe, then, are we?
We recognize we've got challenges. We recognize we need to make changes and we need a new approach.
Food companies in China that use private labs to test their products are not obligated to report their findings to U.S. regulators, even if the food is tainted or contaminated. And the FDA does not have authorization to inspect an importer firsthand.
We do not have the authority to mandate an inspection of a foreign firm if they choose not to have us come.
As we sit up here on this dais attempting to assure the American people we're providing oversight, we've really got no mechanism to go back and check that. Clearly, it seems to me that's a gaping hole that's got to be closed.
The FDA says it's working on recommendations on how to fix these problems, which it expects to release in the coming weeks. The Food and Drug Administration says it does not have the authority to exclude Chinese importers who do not have the safety certification. The agency says that requires congressional action. And the FDA also said they don't have regulatory authority over these private labs that companies hire to do their own food testing. At one point, Congressman Charlie Melanson from Louisiana said he was tired of hearing all the excuses from the FDA, saying the government has a great agency for that with FEMA. Lou?
Yeah, well, that's a clever line. The problem is this is very reminiscent of exactly what's happening with a host of federal agencies run by people who apparently are either indifferent or utterly incompetent and unconcerned about the safety of the American consumer and their fellow Americans. How in the world can a federal agency say, yes, we do have some problems, we have challenges, we got to make some changes? The FDA officials saying, we really don't have the authority to do anything. Congress has not given them the authority, and the American consumer is sitting here absolutely naked in front of an assault on their safety.
The FDA is pointing to Congress. Congress is pointing to the FDA. Congress is saying to the agency essentially, look, you knew that you didn't have this authority. Why don't you come to us and ask us for this authority? Why aren't you asking for more resources? FDA basically says its hands are tied, and they've been doing a lot of business.
Well, let's be clear. The reason the FDA isn't doing anything, it's being run by the Bush administration. They think that small government is great government and that consumer be damned. This is part of a philosophy. Remember, this president is a compassionate conservative. Neither conservative nor compassionate, however, when it comes to the federal government, its operation, its budget, and the well-being of the American people, apparently, on a host of fronts. Lisa, thank you very much. Lisa Sylvester, I know you're going to continue to follow this very, very closely for our audience here. Thank you. Coming up next, dangerous drugs. We just told you that the federal regulators haven't got a clue what they're doing in terms of food imported from communist China and anywhere else. Well, guess what? They're not any smarter on a host of other issues. The government, the federal government, says now it's okay to import some drugs from China. You remember, they didn't like that idea of bringing in cheaper drugs from Canada. But, oh, you've got to love this administration and this government. They're a bunch of beauties. And NASCAR fans, well, they're feeling a little insulted tonight. A government directive from the United States Congress about the health of those precious employees who work for the Congress, the staff. Why, they could go to one of those NASCAR races and actually, well, they could run into a disease or something. It's those elitist congressional staffs. My goodness, we got to protect them from the great unwashed at those NASCAR races. Apparently, that's the thinking of some in Congress, if not all. We'll have that story and a great deal more. Stay with us. We're coming right back. More of this lunacy continues.
That's my brother Earl. He's been driving the same car for 20 years. What's worse, he's had the same car insurance for 20 years. I tell him, Earl, driving an old car is one thing, but having outdated insurance could be costing you a fortune.
Is that right?
Switch to the AARP insurance program from the Hartford. It's a program designed for people 50 plus.
If you're over 50, you might save $300 by switching to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford.
Really?
And with a good driving record, your deductible can disappear over time. Plus, your first accident could be forgiven.
Earl, no penalty for your first accident. Does your plan do that?
I didn't know anybody did that.
Not yet a member? Call now. We'll even send you a free calculator. Call 1-800-207-7413. 1-800-207-7413.
Being there is half the battle.
Al-Qaeda could most likely know that we're here.
Getting the story is the other half.
There's clear signs of the firefight.
Michael Ware, the first-hand reporting you expect. Anderson Cooper, 360 tonight, 10 Eastern.
All right, let's try some more. Who's ahead right now in tonight's high school game? There was a commotion at the mall a half hour ago. Any idea why? Let's try this. Give me any topic that you know anything about right now.
Kansas. Watermelon? The White House?
Do you need a news and information intervention? Go to OregonLive.com and get the latest real-time news, sports, weather, and entertainment happening right now, right here in Oregon.
The prison. I got out of prison, and I can't find my girlfriend. And I'm surfing the web one day, and I'm on Craigslist, and lo and behold, there's my girlfriend, $150 an hour.
Shut the hell up.
Here. Oh, you didn't see my dog.
Come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night. Go ahead and release. It's a wonderful night. Come on and break it on down.
Stephen Colbert gets to the truthiness and takes your calls. Larry King Tonight.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved a new generic drug made in communist China, even though it can't guarantee the safety of Chinese imports in this country at all. This is the first time, in fact, that a Chinese manufacturer has been granted FDA approval to export a generic drug to the United States. And as Kitty Pilgrim now reports, China is increasingly supplying much, if not most, of the ingredients used in medications made here in the United States.
Compliments of China, poison pet food, hazardous toys, toxic toothpaste, and now medications. Thousands of manufacturers in China supply about 50% of the ingredients for prescription and over-the-counter drugs made by pharmaceutical companies in the United States.
They simply assemble it into the final drug product, and that's what goes to the market. The drug manufacturer oftentimes really doesn't know either where many of those materials have come from.
U.S. lawmakers are worried there is virtually no oversight of drugs used by Americans every day.
Like our penicillin, real basic staple in the medical field, that's all produced in China. Where's the oversight of the penicillin being produced? Is it the right potency? Is the active ingredients still good? These are really unanswered questions.
The Chinese government admits its own oversight of the industry is full of loopholes. Last July, a former chief of China's State Food and Drug Administration was executed for taking bribes to approve the applications of hundreds of untested drugs, some absolutely fake. FDA inspections at U.S. factories are unannounced and happen every 2 years. In China, the FDA's power is limited.
If an FDA inspector were to go to inspect at a Chinese facility, they have to be invited by the Chinese government. The Chinese government, in turn, gives notice to the local manufacturer, who has anywhere between 30 and 60 days notice.
Fake Chinese products have made it to U.S. store shelves. Last month, the FDA issued an alert to consumers about counterfeit Chinese diabetic test strips used by millions of Americans to measure blood sugar levels. Now, in a statement today, the FDA wrote the American consumer should have confidence in the U.S. regulatory system, that it's effective for ensuring product safety no matter where the active ingredients are produced. But then they also added, we're currently examining opportunities to obtain additional information about foreign production.
Now, those strips, again, how many were counterfeit?
The strips, the diabetic strips were counterfeit. They were made in Shanghai.
And the FDA discovered that and immediately alerted the consumer, right?
That's not really quite the way it played out.
No, it's not quite really the truth. The fact is that the FDA is an incompetent administration run by incompetent people in this administration, and the American consumer, the arrogance of those incompetents in that agency to sit there and say that the American people should have confidence in the regulatory system of this government, that is beyond the pale.
Lou, the FDA today couldn't even tell us how much was coming into the country. They said it would take several days to actually get that sort of information together.
But at least in fairness to the pharmaceutical industry, they did offer up an estimate, did they not?
Yeah.
50%.
The industry says 50%.
At least half. My God. And people have no idea of what's happening in this country, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, across the board. We are becoming a nation so dependent on foreign producers and manufacturers in every aspect of our lives, and a government that frankly is completely out it's completely dysfunctional. There's no other way to say it. Well, completely is strong. I would say it's about 80% dysfunctional, in all fairness. Thank you very much, Kitty Pilgrim. Well, the South is suffering from the worst drought in more than a century, while the Southwest is suffering one of the worst droughts in 500 years. This nation is facing a crisis over its water supply. We'll have the latest for you. Also, Democratic Governor Eliot Spitzer of New York. He faces a rising revolt within his own party over his outrageous proposal to give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. The governor apparently thinking he represents illegal aliens rather than the citizens of the state of New York. Two Democrats telling the governor to go to hell. They'll be with us. That's my expression, not really theirs. We'll see how they put it. And police officers in one of our biggest cities have had a belly full of their community leaders' so-called failure to crack down on criminal illegal aliens and illegal immigration. We'll have that report as well. A great deal more. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
There is one company that in one day, today, is providing more than 1 million people with the security of health insurance. Through a choice of different plans designed to meet their individual needs, every associate can qualify for health insurance with premiums that cost less than $1 a day. And it is this one company that has moved more than 150,000 uninsured Americans into a company-sponsored insurance plan. This one company? Your neighborhood Walmart.
Managing a fast-growing business?
We'll be there.
Then manage your office furniture as smartly as you manage your money.
We'll be there to take care of everything.
Court can help you stay flexible.
Whatever you need.
We'll be there to give you options.
We'll be there.
To deliver and set up in 48 hours.
Only one company can do it all seamlessly.
Anytime, anywhere, we'll be there.
Wherever you're heading, we'll be there.
Working on the most important book of the 20th century.
One man will cross the line.
Howard Hughes, the billionaire?
His exclusive biography.
Between fact and fiction.
As soon as they find out it's a fake, they'll kill us.
Don't miss the true story Newsweek raves is the freshest, most surprising American movie this year. Deliciously smart.
That's his genius.
It's a terrific ride. Richard Gere.
The more outrageous I sound, the more convincing I am.
Alfred Molina.
There's an angry billionaire who's chasing me.
The Hoax. Only on DVD Tuesday, October 16th.
Introducing Del Vostro. Customized systems, services, and expertise designed just for small business. PCs with no trialware that can be powered by Intel Core 2 Duo processors to keep you up and running fast. The new Del Vostro.
Anniversary pudding. The always punctual S80 from Volvo.
Lease a 2008 Volvo S80 for $439 a month for 24 months. $3,508 cash due at signing.
You've seen them. Now it's your chance to vote for them. Go to cnn.com/heroes and choose your favorite. The viewer's choice. Vote online at cnn.com/heroes. CNN Heroes. Brought to you by Citi. Let's get it done.
Well, NASCAR supporters are calling it an outright insult. Congressional aides apparently instructed to have immunization shots before going to NASCAR races. NASCAR races at Talladega and Lowe's Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina, to be specific. Those shots for the staff of Congress were for hepatitis A and B, tetanus, diphtheria, influenza. NASCAR draws just about the biggest crowds of any organized sport in this country. And those NASCAR crowds may be fanatic, but are they infectious? Joining me tonight is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Congressman Benny Thompson. We thank you very much for being with us, Congressman. What in the world was the thinking about this, ordering these shots?
Well, first of all, Lou, the shots weren't ordered. They were recommended by public health officials. This is a part of a mass gathering program. We plan to look at the Super Bowl. We plan to look at the World Series. This is all about looking at potential terrorist targets. Our staffs will be going down to Concord. They'll be visiting correctional facilities, healthcare facilities, a lot of people. Yeah. And all the people they will be working with have had the shot. So it was recommended, not required.
All right, let me ask you this. You can understand why this country, which is giving Congress the lowest approval ratings in its history, giving this president almost the lowest approval ratings in history, you have to be, you'd have to be Richard Nixon to do worse, basically. I mean, aren't you all concerned about the continuing appearance of being absolutely out of contact with reality and your constituents? The idea that you would even have a recommendation to have, I mean, it looks like, you know, you precious elites elected in Washington just can't go out among the masses of regular people in this country without being immunized against this. I mean, come on.
Well, Lou, I live in a town of 500 people. I'll put my country credentials up against anyone. But the issue here is mass gathering and whether or not we're prepared. We've been working with NASCAR people for several months now, working on making sure we get staff in there so that if something happens, we're prepared. And I can tell you.
Well, what about the people there? What about those hundreds of thousands of people at the NASCAR race? Anybody recommending they get these shots?
No, these are only first responders.
Well,
these are for people who. No, Luke, this is for first responders now. Our staff will be going into public health facilities. They'll be going into correctional facilities. They're not just going to the NASCAR event. They'll be there for 4 days looking at a lot of operations. So this is recommended, not required.
I hear you. Congressman Robin Hayes, as you know, from Concord, he's outraged by all of this, and he joins us now. Congressman Hayes, how do you react to the Homeland Security Chairman's remarks?
Well, Benny Thompson's been a great friend. NASCAR is the #1 sport in America and on the planet. NASCAR supports our military. They were at Walter Reed last week. All I need Benny to do is tell the staff that NASCAR fans don't need immunizations to come to Concord and Lowe's Motor Speedway. It's a very simple situation.
What do you think, Congressman Thompson?
Well, you know, Congressman Hayes, if you had asked why staff was there, it's a mass gathering. It's a preparedness event. Yeah. If something bad happened, we want to make sure that federal, state, and local officials are prepared. It's all about protecting the public. It's not about shots, and you know that. You're just trying to get your few moments of fame claiming about NASCAR. You ought to be ashamed of yourself because you are harming Concord area because of this. Talk to the NASCAR officials. They'll tell you they've been working closely with my staff on making sure that this was a positive event, and you've turned a positive event into something absolutely negative. You're the one that's hurting the NASCAR event.
Congressman Hayes?
Well, NASCAR and Lowe's Motor Speedway are the finest organizations you could possibly have. As we've talked to people from Canada, West Virginia, Connecticut, Florida, they're concerned about the perception that has been created by folks in the immunization flap. So all I'm saying, and again, Benny's a good friend. He's got a big job. NASCAR is the best family sport there is. Just tell these staff members to make it clear that you don't need an immunization to come to Concord, North Carolina to watch the world's greatest sport, NASCAR.
Well, you know what? You know, as we look at this, I guess what strikes me, gentlemen, is, and I'd love to get as we wrap this up. Congressman Hayes, I don't think anybody thinks you need an immunization except maybe somebody in Washington to go to a NASCAR event. I don't think there's any issue on that. And at the same time, Congressman Thompson, if we're going to have these shots for everybody, why don't we get them for the people instead of the staff of Congress?
No, the staff will be working with first responders.
I understand that, but you know what? Those first responders are going to be at NASCAR too. Why not have it for everybody?
No, Lou, listen. They will be in hospitals, public health facilities.
No, Mr. Chairman, come on. You know something. Those ambulance drivers, those EMTs, those policemen are NASCAR fans like everybody else. They're going to be in the general population.
But they come in contact with all kind of individuals, and their job requires them to be immunized. You be serious, Lou. All we're talking about is first responders doing their job. I would not want a first responder to respond to a scene, and because of not being immunized, something would happen. Right. That's all that is. It's much to do about nothing. Congressman Hayes, enjoy the NASCAR event. Don't try to get your time on Lou Dobbs' show with something that's totally not true.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it. Congressman Hayes, you get the last word real quick.
Well, we thank you. Come to Concord. We love to have you. Lady from Kannapolis said we got our shots when we were born. Love NASCAR.
I think we got the message from both of you. We thank you for being here. Thank you, gentlemen. Coming up next, lively debate on the driver's licenses proposal from New York's outstanding governor. If you happen to be an illegal alien anyway, he wants you to have a driver's license. Doesn't seem to care too much about the rest of the citizens of the state of New York. We'll be talking about that. And if you want to vote on our poll tonight, the question is real simple. Do you believe Governor Elliott Spitzer should be recalled for suggesting that the interests of illegal aliens be put ahead those of legal residents in this state? Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results here later. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
We didn't set out to be a getaway car or an art car. We didn't intend to be a part of any subculture or pop culture. We didn't set out to play games or to start a religion. We just made the car, the BMW 3 Series, another expression of independence from a company built on it.
There is one company that in one day, today, is providing more than 1 million people with the security of health insurance. Through a choice of different plans designed to meet their individual needs, every associate can qualify for health insurance with premiums that cost less than $1 a day. And it is this one company that has moved more than 150,000 uninsured Americans into a company-sponsored insurance plan. This one company? Your neighborhood Walmart.
When you suffer from restless legs syndrome, your legs don't want to stop, even when you do. Annoying sensations can keep you up at night when all you want to do is get some rest. Fortunately, there's Mirapex. Mirapex is a prescription medicine that helps relieve the frequency and severity of many RLS symptoms. Call 1-888-210-5003 for a free RLS guide with information on Mirapex and a money-saving offer. Prescription Mirapex may cause you to feel drowsy or fall asleep during normal activities such as driving, or to feel faint or dizzy when you stand up. Tell your doctor if you experience these problems. If you drink alcohol or taking medicines that make you drowsy, or if you experience increased gambling, sexual, or other intense urges. Other side effects include nausea. Call 1-888-210-5003 today to get your free guide and talk to your doctor about Mirapex and RLS. Because when your legs feel better, you feel better.
Fairwatcher Plus alerts you when fares drop to your favorite places. Start your wish list at Travelocity.com.
Can I speak anyone? Anyone?
Over 40,000 wishes fulfilled every day. Start your wish list at Travelocity.com. You'll never roam alone.
Well, the folks of Atlanta, Georgia, have a huge problem. Mayor of Atlanta now begging residents to conserve water in the city. Atlanta, in fact, the entire South have been hit by the worst drought in more than 100 years. From Tennessee all the way down to Florida, southern states are withering and drying up. Rainfall at the lowest levels on record. And on farms, the extreme drought is damaging crops and livestock. Susan Candiotti has our report from the drought-stricken Southeast.
I think this whole thing has made me realize how much water we waste.
Melanie Blewett is so worried about a record drought. She's watering her outdoor plants with bath water. She and her husband collect it in kitty litter trays whenever they take a shower. Going to that extreme might soon become the norm if water levels continue to sink at Lake Lanier, the main water source for Atlanta and Alabama. The Army Corps of Engineers manages who gets how much water.
The upstream folks think it should be held upstream, and the downstream folks think it should be let go to come down to help them.
There's no relief in sight.
Our projections show that if these weather conditions persist through the end of the year, the lake will reach a new record low and go beyond that.
Under normal circumstances, I could not be doing this, walking across these rocks, because this pole would be underwater.
and the water level coming way up over my head to the bottom of that red marker. If the lake drops another 10 feet, it could severely limit the amount of water released downstream to supply residential and commercial customers. If an emergency is declared, the state is warning water-dependent companies like Coca-Cola they may face water restrictions that could force job cuts. Landscapers and nurseries who've so far escaped water limits and car washes also may be ordered to cut back. Could this have been avoided?
We have not grown our way into this drought or consumed our way into it, as some would believe.
But conservationists argue government's failure to regulate the area's explosive development and enforce conservation is to blame.
You can keep on wasting or you can keep on growing, but you cannot do both.
If winter is dry as predicted, reservoirs and streams will remain low, and Melanie Blewett will have to keep trapping wastewater.
If everybody would do it, it would make a difference.
Susan Candiotti, CNN, Atlanta.
And further west, this country is facing a historic drought. Scientists warn that the prolonged drought is worse than the infamous Dust Bowl of the 1930s that forced hundreds of thousands to flee their farms for California. For years, climatologists have warned that the steady decline in rainfall is responsible for an epidemic of wildfires in the West. The western desert states are now facing the worst drought in 500 years. Meteorologists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration warned this week that La Nina in the Pacific is likely to hit the southwest and the southeast with higher temperatures and continued drought this winter. Now, a reminder to vote in our poll. The question is, it's about Eliot Spitzer, the governor of New York's proposal to put the interests of illegal aliens ahead of the interests of New York and U.S. citizens by giving illegal aliens driver's licenses. And up next, we'll have a lively debate about that. Two Democratic lawmakers opposed to the governor's plan. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Larry King Tonight. The truthiness about Stephen Colbert. He takes your calls and goes mano a mano with Larry King. Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
J.D. Power Automotive Ratings. Everybody wants them. We've got them. See them for yourself in our new interactive video buying guides, now at vehix.com.
The Golden Crown Restaurant is a landmark in Beaverton, but it's what's inside that makes us unique. We offer a friendly atmosphere that's perfect for your entire family. There's something for everyone on the menu, from our own house medallion beef to Beaverton's best pan-fried shrimp in the shell. And Golden Crown is just as good at home. Takeout orders are always welcome. The Golden Crown also offers a bar with a big screen and a banquet room that serves up to 80 people. The Golden Crown Restaurant. It's all under the dome on Beaverton-Hillsdale Highway in Beaverton.
Bring your imagination to life at Beach's Ultra All-Inclusive Family Resorts. Dancing and prancing and laughing with ease. Splashing and dashing whatever you please. From the catch of the day to Sesame Street Wave. For those you adore, Beaches gives more. Book now, save 40%. Call 1-800-BEACHES or visit our website.
Comcast Digital Voice is a technological breakthrough. Calls pass through our fiber optic center on their way to your home. Our digital network provides a capacity to offer the first real choice in home phone service with unlimited calling in the US and Canada, 12 popular calling features, including voicemail with email notification and call blocking. Connect to the future. Get Comcast Digital Voice for $33 a month for 12 months. Call 1-800-COMCAST today.
The minds of the DC Snipers, CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Coming up at the top of the hour, the Situation Room and Wolf Blitzer. Wolf.
Thanks very much, Lou. Training for terror, calling for a holy war, a jihadist who seems to be an American. We're going to show you some disturbing new video of what could be a young man turning against his own country. Also, Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama. He's about to step up his attacks against his rival Hillary Clinton. He's blasting her vote to authorize the Iraq war, and that's only the beginning. I have a one-on-one interview with Barack Obama. That's coming up. Also, Ann Coulter's latest comments, this time about Jews. They prompted an interviewer to ask in shock, "You didn't really say that, did you?" Judge for yourself whether Ann Coulter's latest remarks are anti-Semitic. All that, a lot more coming up, Lou, right here in the Situation Room.
Well, thank you. A Stop Spitzer campaign is heating up and building in New York State tonight, targeting the governor's proposal to grant driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Two members of the governor's Democratic Party oppose that measure along with a host of others. They join me here tonight. Assemblywoman Jenny Fields, Assemblywoman Pat Eddington, both of Suffolk County and Long Island. Good to have you both here.
So nice to be here.
Let me ask you straightforwardly. I mean, I have talked to the state senators, state assembly people. I mean, where in the world did this governor, the titular leader of your party, at least in terms of the office, where in the world did he come up with the idea for this?
I think it was a promise that he made before he got elected, and he's acting upon that promise. It's a promise he made, and I don't know why, without giving us at least a heads up or some kind of discussion.
What's been the reaction of your community, the constituents you represent?
It's taken us totally by surprise. I think I first learned about it when I read the newspaper. And my constituents are absolutely enraged about it, and I get emails and phone calls and visits to my office and angry people calling me up, and I think that, and I believe Ginny does too, because we discussed it coming here tonight.
Well, Assemblywoman Fields, you've introduced legislation. What's been the reaction?
Very positive reaction. But prior to that, back in March, I sent out a mailer, and it was a survey. And one of the questions out of 22 was, do you believe an illegal immigrant should have the ability to obtain a New York State driver's license? The response was 90% no. And they wrote all kinds of things all over the survey.
So with the governor facing the fact that you and other members of your party and the Democratic Party holds sway in the Assembly, and not in the Senate, the Republicans there, the state Senate, what's going to be the outcome here? Is the governor, in your judgment, going to be defeated here?
I don't know if the governor is going to be defeated, but we're working very hard to let the governor know that we're in opposition to this policy change, and that I think that this is an issue that is so tremendous that it should never be left in the hands of one person alone, and that the legislature should definitely have a say in this, and I think that the people should have a say. I think the policy needs to be examined more closely. I don't think that it was looked at the way it probably should have been looked at, and I don't believe that there's been any kind of real concrete evidence to show that this is a good policy. Well, it's not.
You've got a situation where Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York City, says, illegal immigration's a fact, get used to it. He loves it, in point of fact. You've got New York Governor Eliot Spitzer saying, well, let's give everybody driver's licenses. Heretofore, New York had one of the most rigorous demands for residency and proof of citizenship in terms of driver's licenses. What is going on in this state that it's aligning itself with the governments of Mexico, Central America, and the other primary nations of origin for illegal aliens in this country? What in the world is going on?
Well, they're commenting that they're bringing them out of the shadows, and I don't agree. If you're illegal and you come here, what is going to make you go and show a passport and become legal all of a sudden? You're not going to be legal. It's not going to bring anybody else out, and they're going to continue to break the law.
Do you think it is an accident that we are watching at the same time an effort by the ACLU, the AFL-CIO, various parts of the Democratic Party, and I ask you this because you're both Democrats, nationwide, from California to New York, from Washington State down to Florida, an effort to roll back enforcement, federal enforcement of immigration laws, trying to roll back community efforts to control the impact of illegal immigration. Is there some sort of coordinated national effort here that has heretofore been not visible to the American public?
We swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of New York State. We're not seeing that with a lot of elected officials. They're turning the other cheek, and they're allowing things that are illegal. They don't get the word illegal.
I think it's silly in a sense to believe that this will bring people out of the shadows and it will make our insurance premiums go down. I think that is an absurdity. Nowhere have we ever heard our insurance premiums go down when thousands upon thousands more drivers will be on the road. If anything, there'll be more accidents and our insurance premiums will go up.
Except of course, in the state of New Jersey. I'm making a joke. It's not an issue there of illegal immigration. It's just some horrible drivers, and the fact is that the state of New Jersey has the highest insurance rates in the country. Thank you very much. Assemblywoman Fields, Assemblywoman Henning, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Coming up next, the results of tonight's poll on this very issue. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
I lost my job and my health insurance. The first thought was, how am I going to get my medication I need? I was in a lot of trouble.
If you're uninsured and struggling, America's pharmaceutical companies want to help. Call 1-888-4PPA now to see if you may qualify.
PPA saves me $1,300 a month.
We've been to nearly 1,000 cities in all 50 states, helping more than 4 million people in need.
Without my wife and PPA, I don't know if I could have been here today.
The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
Communicate in less than a second with Nextel Direct Connect.
Nice work.
The largest and fastest push-to-talk network on the planet. That's getting it done at sprint speed. Visit sprint.com/Nextel.
Like golf, there are hazards in owning a small business that can result in your losing more than composure. That's why I'm a client of Administaff. Administaff helps business owners succeed by providing administrative relief, big company benefits, reduced liabilities, and a systematic way to improve productivity, giving you a competitive advantage. Small business is good for America. Administaff is good for small business.
The versatile XC90 from Volvo.
Lease a 2008 Volvo XC90 for $389 a month for 24 months. $3,408 cash due at signing.
Closed captioning hours provided by Meineke Car Care Center.
Help us choose a family pet. A beagle, a python, or a goat. You pick. Where's the goat?
New oil change options from Meineke. Life doesn't always give you options. Meineke does.
Now our poll results, 97% of you say New York's Governor Eliot Spitzer should be recalled for proposing to give illegal aliens driver's licenses. Thanks for being with us tonight. Join us here tomorrow for all of us. Thanks for watching. Good night from New York. The Situation Room begins now with Wolf Blitzer. Wolf?
Happening now, Barack Obama sharpening his criticism of Hillary Clinton and what he calls her flawed judgment. This hour, the Democratic presidential candidate talks to me about Senator Clinton, the war, and the next phase of his campaign. Also, why white men won't jump. Do they keep voting Republican because they've been neglected by Democrats? And the conservative commentator Ann Coulter stirring up a new hornet's nest after some stunning comments about Jews and America. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Tonight, Democrat Barack Obama admitting he needs to do a better job explaining how he'd be